OMG, guess what today is? Today is the day for the drive to find its way back to you. That's right, folks. We are here today on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and it is a perfect fit because we're inside the Great Lakes Honda City studios. Who brings you the drive? Great Lakes Honda City. Where are you going to drive your next car out of the lot of? Great Lakes Honda City. 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Sales and service. They're open Monday through Saturday. And of course, you can always visit them online. Look at their inventory of new and used vehicles. Check out what you want to buy and lease by going to GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Today, we are bringing you bracket analysis and the prediction special. My bracket will be filled out while we speak today. I will officially lock it in. Because I come down to the wire. I think about it, and I think about it, and I think about it. But I helped somebody make their bracket yesterday. A very special person. And so I've already gotten a little look at it. I've gotten a little feel. I had to kind of sit with my thoughts. So we'll see how it goes. And by the way, you can enter your bracket right there. You see that QR code? All you got to do is tap your phone, your device, whatever you got, to that code, that QR code that is on the screen right now to enter your bracket in the free Wake Up Call Bracket Challenge. We got a bunch of you already. Ross and I are going to be in it. Put your bracket up against mine. Let's see what you got, and let's have some fun. We're up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com. Wherever you are, thank you for being here with us, where sports meets life, Monday through Friday between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Appreciate your patience here this morning as we got set and ready to go. And want to let you know really quick, Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, YouTube, and more. All you got to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. When we started this thing, we were pre-recording it. I was walking around the house I grew up in with my little Sony recorder that is still working to this day. Shout out to Sony. And I'm saying Sony because Spider-Man's trailer came out today. What's up, Sony? How you doing? Brand new day. So, very excited. That's how it all got started. Walking around, Ross on the phone, me talking, him talking, pre-recording this thing, all the way to what it is now, which is live worldwide, which is connected to the Wake Up Call Bracket Challenge, and which is here for you on video and audio. So we've come a long way, and I can't thank Ross enough for the love, the support, and just being an awesome and better half to this thing. His bracket is up. He was off screen. I wanted to see how long he could hold it. But he's got his bracket.
Quite a workout right now. My arms are tired.
So Ross's bracket is up. It's in. Don't look at it. Don't look at it, because we're going to be unveiling it as we go here. Don't look at it. Put it down. No, because Ross is done. Let me tell you something about Ross, okay? Ross most of the time won't, but he has attempted to ruin a couple movies and TV shows. Put it down. Put it down right now. Put it.
I can tell you what happens in the new Spider-Man movie 4 months before it comes out. No, I'll tell you right now.
No, you keep it.
I'll tell you any movie.
You keep it to yourself. Keep all of that to yourself. That's for you to know and for us to find out. So Ross is here with
us.
us.
Like my life in high school. Keep it to yourself. It's a very lonely existence.
No, hey, listen.
It gets better, kids. Don't worry. It gets better.
It does get better. Just don't tell people what happens in movies. That's all.
No, we love to spoil movies and shows.
No, this would be Ross. I would be like, don't.
Bruce Willis was dead the whole time in Sixth Sense. 27 years later. I hope by now you've seen it. Because if not, that's pathetic if that's a spoiler. I'll tell you that one. I'll tell you old movies then. Because if you let me spoil those, you deserve to be spoiled because they're old movies and shows. You should know what.
How about this? I'm going to spoil this. In Titanic, most of the people die and they hit an iceberg.
Yeah. Leonardo DiCaprio dies, and Rose, the biggest villain in movie cinematic history, she lets go. She was told to never let go. She said she'd never let go. She let go.
How about this? How about this? You know, I thought more about it because I thought I was the only person that was like, she should have shared the door. And then there was a Facebook group created called Rose Should Have Shared the Door or something like that. Here's my thing about Rose and the Titanic.
She's a villain.
She let go of Leo. She let him die, but held on to the diamond. And then she threw the diamond in the water. So she let Leo die for no reason. She let him go, to keep the prize, and then threw the prize away when he was the actual prize. And so, you know what I mean? All for naught. At the end of the movie, it was like she was willing to let her love go to hold on to the treasure, and then she threw the treasure into the ocean anyways. So what did we learn, folks? Never trust Rose. She is one of the greatest villains of cinematic history.
But not the best Rose in all of Hollywood. The late great Betty White, who lived almost 100 years old. She was Rose on Golden Girls. You can trust Betty White, but do not trust the evil Rose from Titanic. They did ask James Cameron, the great director and writer of the movie, and his answer was very matter of fact. She didn't share the door, and Jack dies because he's supposed to die. It's in the script. It's supposed to be bittersweet, and they reconnect and have a ridiculous wedding, in the future fantasy heaven world on the Titanic boat with all the dead people who would come back, the ghosts, and they reunite once the old lady, again, spoiler alert, the old lady dies at the end, and they get married, I guess, in heaven in Titanic. If the boat never set.
So they could have gotten married on Earth, but you had to let him die, and so they could get married. And I mean, to me, this is how I think about it, okay? The person that you're meant to be with, they're with you on Earth, and they'll be with you someday in heaven. So they could have had both, but she wanted the diamond more, so she let him die, and she's a villain. I don't care. I mean, I was mad at her when I was a child watching the movie before the internet and all this stuff came out, and I'm sitting here thinking to myself, am I the only person that thinks this woman did the wrong thing? And then as I got older, more and more people came out of the woodwork, and people felt safe, right? They felt their statute of limitations was over, and they felt safe enough to speak their mind and speak their piece and let us know that, Rose is a villain. She's evil.
She's right up there with Freddy Krueger, Jason from Friday the 13th,
By the way,
Michael Myers, all of them. The Clown, she's right up with all of them. She might be past them in terms of a Hollywood villain.
Can I say this? I just saw Scream 7, and here's me. I might have seen parts of Scream 1 and nothing in between. I just saw Scream 7 thinking to myself, because there was no good movie to see, but I was in Charlotte, and I love AMC, and there's an AMC theater I wanted to go to. So I was like, I got to pick a movie, and the only movie that could work with the timing of the ACC tournament was Scream 7. So, and there was this other movie that I had no desire to see. So I was like, all right, well, I guess the least of two whatevers, I'll go see Scream 7. I had not eaten all day. And I'm sitting in the front row, and these people are blood, guts, things are splurting out of them. There's all this stuff happening, and then you hear me crunch on my chicken. But I do, because I had to eat my food. Now, Ross, I'm going to call BS on a couple things here, and this is not ruining the movie. This is just stating an obvious fact from I'm guessing all the movies.
I'll tell you right up. I saw the first movie where Drew Barrymore shockingly gets killed. No spoiler. 30 years later, she gets killed like the first 5 minutes of the movie, even though she was the most famous person going into that movie.
Is she the one that got killed by the garage door?
I know. I think it was Ghostface, just slashed her like the first 5 minutes of the movie, and she's on the poster of the movie, and her name was first in the credits. So that's why it was a shock. Wes Craven, who directed the original Scream movie, and was also the guy who did the Freddy Krueger Nightmare on Elm Street movies. I think it was a total misdirection, because she seemed like the main star of the movie, but yet she's killed in the first 5 minutes of the movie. Again, 30 years later, so I don't feel bad for giving that spoiler. After that first movie, I gave up on the Scream movies. I do watch some of those Wayne's Brother funny spoof movies, the scary movies, which, by the way, they're going to actually finally have a new one coming out June 5th. It just got moved up from June 12th. June 5th, where they make fun of Ghostface and all the other crazy horror movies. I think they're going to make fun of the new Weapons movie that I did finally see, and she won the Oscar, the crazy Aunt Gladys, the witch from that movie, very deservedly so. It's a freaky movie.
He just spoiled that movie for you guys too.
Yeah, she's a witch. It's not a big deal. She's a crazy witch. Don't worry. I'll tell you this. She gets what's coming to her. She gets what's coming to her. I won't say how, but she gets what's happening. She did a great job, though. Amy Madigan won the Oscar for that. I don't really like horror movies for the most part, but Weapons I enjoyed. And I enjoy the silly Wayne's Brothers spoof movies, the scary movies. Yeah. But Scream movies, I gave up after the first one. I'm done with those. But if you had to watch a movie and crunch chicken while people are getting slashed to pieces, I guess that doesn't bother you while blood is pouring everywhere.
It
It probably
did.
was just like ketchup on the screen. You're gonna dip it in for some sauce for that
Yeah,
extra
that's why I had my barbecue sauce. But here, so
flavor.
here,
Yeah.
here's the thing that I have to share though. So there's two things that I took away from that movie. And this is not giving anything away because this is how these movies are for whatever reason. For some odd reason, if you wear the ghost face mask, you have superpowers. Like you put
Well, the
them
people like die and they magically come back.
right.
I
So
don't know.
well, because they're always like you got to shoot them in the head. I'm like they're not zombies. They're human beings.
Yeah.
These are normal human beings throughout the Scream series. I'm not gonna
You know,
ruin.
all they're in is a costume.
Right,
That's
right.
it.
So I'm not like giving up anything here. Like, my question is, if you put on a ghost face mask and you're in this movie, you could be shot. You can fall off a building. Like they fall off of something and they're totally fine. And then the person they're trying to kill falls off of it and they can't move their legs. Like, I mean, it makes no sense. Number one, that Ghostface has superpowers. Number two, and more importantly, if the killer's name is Ghostface and they're the Ghostface killer, is this not an ode to Wu-Tang Clan?
It's possible. Like I said, the original one came out in 1996, so 30 years later, Wu-Tang Clan was very
I'm
big at
just
that.
saying, my favorite Wu-Tang Clan member is Ghostface Killer. So, I mean,
It
you
is
know.
possible that's where the Wes Craven got the idea. But again, you are breaking down a Scream 7 movie that they already started making Scream 8 before the movie even came out. Probably before the seventh movie was filmed, they were already starting playing Scream 8. So I wouldn't really analyze too much about it because they are ridiculous, kind of stupid movies. I'm sorry if you're a big Scream fan and you're offended by that. They are stupid movies. Enjoy them if you like. I
Yeah.
will not participate in any more of those movies. I'm done with them.
All I can say is, yeah, the Ghostface Killer thing stuck with me. And why, when they put on the mask, do these normal human beings somehow have superpowers? Like they're the Hulk. And it makes no sense to me whatsoever. So that,
Look at spoilers because I have no interest in watching the movies, and all it just says is people. It's not really, to spoil it really for many people is. It just says that people just keep coming back from the dead from previous movies that you think are dead, and they just magically show up in the new one. I don't even know which characters they're talking about, but it just seems that happens nonstop, and it's ridiculous.
I will tell you this. I love screenwriting, and it's something I want to do in my life.
Yeah.
And you and I love to tell stories and write stories and come up with ideas. I figured out the biggest twist of the movie. I put it in my head and I went like middle of the movie. I went, okay. And then it happened and I was like, oh, no crap. So, I mean, that was cool that I actually figured out the twist in this one because everyone's always trying to figure out who the killer is. And I'm not going to give that up. But the superhuman power just throws me off and it makes the movie not believable. Now, will I watch a suspense movie? Will I watch a movie that's maybe a little gruesome, but it's like, it's challenging or it's a game or something? I'll watch those. I don't watch any of the possession stuff. I don't watch the demonic stuff. I watched The Conjuring just because I was like, whatever, I'll just watch it. Dude, for 2 weeks, I was praying, sitting up at night. Like, I cannot. I can't. Paranormal Activity, no, thank you, I'm good. So, I mean,
Well, it's just a lot. There's a lot of jump scares. And then people like
I don't watch
ghosts that like hover over the bed. There was that crazy movie called Mama, where then just like a ghost screams in your face. I just smack the crap out of the ghost and get it out of you. Like yell and scream, and then like black blood just throws up on you. I'm like, get the hell out of here. That's ridiculous. And then it's just jump scares to freak people out. And all like the little teeny boppers who sneak into the radar movies, they scream and go nuts. And they're like, get out the room, get out the room. And they're like, oh, what the heck's going on? And it's nonstop. These kids are having conversations through the movie. Saying words that rhyme with witch. And say, get out the room, get out the room. And it's like, they're ridiculous movies. Like, again, if you love them, great.
Yeah.
That's why I'll say I did enjoy. It won a lot of Oscars, including Michael B. Jordan, very deservedly so. I loved Sinners because it had a lot of other meanings and messaging that I'm still trying to process, along with the vampires. They could have done Sinners even without vampires. It would have worked. But the vampires added something extra to it. Sinners was good. And again, I know we joked about it like last summer when it came out that it was gonna be stupid. I actually sat down and watched Weapons. I would recommend Weapons because you're on the edge of your seat. You have no idea what's gonna happen, and it's a psychological thriller.
I don't like when they mess with kids, man. I don't like when they mess with kids. So
don't worry. The kids, they get the last laugh in the movie. So don't worry. But the kids are gonna get revenge in the movie.
You know, you and I both do impressions, and I can do the impression of Pennywise, the clown from It. I won't even do the impression for anyone.
You don't run like the kids do, like they're
no, but
they're
like
run in the dark at 3 o'clock in the morning when they all escape.
No, I won't do my impression of It, fully knowing it's me, because it makes my hair stand. Because the whole, like, the movie starts with Georgie in the rain, and his little boat made out of paper goes to the sewer, and then this stupid clown is looking at him and laughing with him, and then all of a sudden let me tell you something. Anybody who switches their reaction that fast, get away. Because he was like ha, 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 and then all of a sudden he just like looked at him and he's like, ugh. And it's like he went from happy to like to serious, and then he bites his arm off in the beginning of the movie. There's like an 8-year-old boy and he bites the dude's arm. Like, I can't do any of that stuff. I can't. Like,
that just sounds like a Tinder date. Tinder date gone wrong.
Listen. I will tell you, from dating the last few years of my life,
you had quite a few stories.
I will tell you, this one girl, if I woke up and she was on the wall looking at me at 3 o'clock in the morning, I would have been like, par for the course. So I mean, there's a lot out there. There's a lot of things. Okay. And if the internet's taught you anything, Pennywise is real. There's a few clowns out there, and we should just stay away from it. But I don't do the demonic, the possession. I don't do that stuff. By the way, I'm gonna see. Isn't this coming out? It's got to be coming out. I thought it was coming out soon. Oh my gosh, what's it called? It's the new one with Steven Spielberg about the aliens.
Oh, the alien one. That I think comes out June 12th.
Yeah, it's called. Oh my gosh, it's called New. I got to look it up. The new movie. It's a Disclosure Day.
Yeah, I know. Emily Blunt's in it, and a few other famous people.
Oh, it's June 12th. I don't know why I thought it was in February, but yeah. So Disclosure Day, where Emily Blunt is like on the screen and she's doing the weather, and then she gets taken over by this thing and she starts clicking with her mouth. Like, all I'm going to say is, if Steven Spielberg comes out of retirement to make an alien movie, you're going to blank your pants. That's all I know. That's all I understand about life. If you watch it at home, then you'll poo your couch. If you watch it in a public place, then you'll poo their couch. But I mean, it's the fact that he's making an alien movie. I know that 40-year-old me is going to be 9-year-old me, and I'm going to be on the edge of my seat because it's Steven Spielberg, and he's just
it's like the first time you saw E.T. or when you saw Jurassic Park, you see the dinosaurs for the first time. When you see those visuals on screen, it will pop, and I'm expecting some big things from that. So the guy is going to turn 80 years old at the end of this year, and he still makes some really incredible movies, so I'm excited to see what he has next. Or the first time you see Jaws as a kid and the shark comes out, you only see the shark a couple of times. You keep thinking about the shark, and it builds up until the shark bites the crap out of people in that movie, and it really freaks you out. So, and I remember going on like a Jaws ride at Universal Studios when I was a little kid in Florida. So there was it should be a good one. But there are certain movies that the psychological thrillers that I enjoy, but the straight up horror where they're just like stabbing the crap out of each other and there's blood everywhere, not a fan. But again, like Sinners I enjoyed, Weapons I enjoyed. There's a few that I don't mind. I can't get into the It movies and the new show with the It clown. And the Scream movies I don't do anything for.
Don't watch. Okay. Well, I'm not going to say don't watch. People work hard on it.
Is the show scarier or freakier than the movies? I've seen parts of the movies.
So, yeah, welcome to Derry. So here's me. I'm at New York Comic Con. I'm covering it for Super Powered Pop, our entertainment show, which you can check out by going to wakeupcalldt.com. Go to Beyond Wake Up Call, that tab, and you'll see Super Powered Pop, Do Diz with Dan, Two Mics, No Filter, and Comic Book Trails.
You can watch the new Spider-Man trailer throughout the whole thing. Once you finish the show, go right to that and watch the Spider-Man trailer.
Yeah, watch the Spider-Man trailer. It's on our super powered pop social media. But so thank you for that plug. But no, so the Welcome to Derry, I had a choice because there was stuff going on at the same time. So I could either go to this panel, go to that panel. So I could have went to the Welcome to Derry panel. I chose not to because I was like, I want to see it. I'm interested in it. For some reason, I can get through the It movies, even though I didn't like clowns growing up as a kid. But I did not go. And then I decided to watch the Welcome to Derry episode 1. The car scene in the first 5 minutes of the movie is like having a nightmare when you have a fever and you're delirious. It was one of the most haunting, strange, like when you watch something and your brain can't comprehend how anybody came up with it, it makes it more terrifying and it makes it more sinister and it's just uncomfortable. Basically, and I'm not trying to give anything away here, it's like a scene of this family that saves this kid, and then the kid thinks he's safe, and then the woman ends up having a baby in the car, and the baby is like this deformed angel that's not an angel, but it looks like a little angel, like a Cupid, and it's like smashing its head against the wall. Everything about that scene, it made me want to throw up. And I remember I was sitting in my bedroom and I was like, I'm going to give this thing, like, I'll watch the first 15 minutes or something like that. I have not watched the series since then. And I'm not to say that people didn't work hard on it and it's not great, but sometimes y'all go to a place where it's just too much and it's too disgusting and it's so disturbing that like when my brain cannot comprehend like what is going on, it almost makes me feel like I'm not awake and I'm in a nightmare. And that's how the movie makes you feel, or the TV show makes you feel. And I'm sure the people that wrote it would be like, "Oh, Dan, that's fantastic. We want you to feel like you're in a nightmare." But it's the clown is enough. And whatever this thing is, like, I don't know. I got a thing about like a woman giving birth to like a demon baby. It's enough. Like, I don't watch The Omen. I don't do any of that stuff. Damien is not my friend. We don't rock in that world. So all I can say is welcome to the NCAA tournament. We've been talking about movies, but it was haunting. Welcome to Derry is just terrifying. And by the way, and don't let HBO hear this, Ross, I need the code because it won't let me watch.
It's illegal. They'll come into my house and they'll take me away.
Ross, I've watched for years.
I kept sharing it, and then it keeps blocking me out, or my wife gets the message, and she's like, not again. So I was like, I keep sending the code, then they keep kicking me out. Then the code keeps changing. I don't even know what the code is. I'd have to say, forgot my password, and then they're going to pull me out of my house, and they're going to arrest me for sharing my code. Because now that's a federal offense, I guess. If, God forbid, you steal HBO Max and Netflix codes and all that,
you should be able to share with family. These are, okay, HBO, if you're watching, these are brothers, okay? This is family. Yeah. These are brothers.
And Paramount is going to spend all this money. Now they've outbid Netflix. They got to buy Warner Brothers, who owns HBO, spend a crap ton of money. I think they have the money. They're not going out of business. I think they could deal with us sharing codes. I don't think that's going to destroy their business.
Listen, if the movie industry has different companies buying each other, y'all are doing okay. Just like when the owners said during COVID that they didn't have any money because there was no fans at games, and then they were spending $300 million on one. Like Fernando Tatis got his big contract when the owners were saying that they were poor. Yeah. So,
and then you say, "Show me your books." They're like, "It's none of your business." They don't want to show you what money they're making.
That's the thing, right? Is like, show me your books. It's like, well, I got this book, but then I got this other book over here, and I'm like, all right, so you're a shyster.
The special book where you put the real numbers in. Yeah.
So all I can say is HBO, as it always did before, it shows my name. And by the way, if we're not family, why is my name up there to the HBO crew? So I click on my name like I've done forever because it's a family account. And we're family and you've been good to me. And so I click on the thing and it brings me in like it always does. And then right as I'm about to pick something, it goes like, "Who are you?" And I was like, I'm the guy who's got the profile on here. I'm the second person on the account. So,
because I pay extra money for all these different services, including with Netflix, where I could have multiple accounts multiple people, and I share it, and I wanted to share it. It would help people out, but they make it more and more difficult. It's annoying. Hey, either one of these shows, I'll watch it with you, though it scared the bejesus out of me. Let's have a viewing party. Let's watch Welcome to Derry, and we'll show our reactions. We'll have one picture on the screen, and then the other on us just being terrified and peeing our pants. I'd do that with you. I'd watch that show, even though I'm not a fan of that kind of horror. I
Oh,
would do it just for you, but
I'm telling you right now, I think the world has been ripe for years for me to do a show where you're watching the show and you're watching my reaction instantaneously.
well, it's like History Theater 3000. Like, I think it'd be funny just to hear our reactions and tell jokes
Because
about
we've
it.
been
And
doing it for years.
kind of like you would do in a movie theater or at home, and you're just making jokes and making fun of how ridiculous something is.
You and I used to sit like so Ross's old apartment, he had two couches. We had three couches. And so I would sit on this couch on the left, he would sit on the couch on the right. We would watch TV shows and movies and we would commentate what was going on and we would be looking at the thing and not each other and we'd just be commentating and I'd say something and I'd look over at him and I'd see him start laughing and I'm like, all right, I got him. And then he'd try to get me and we go back and forth. I think the world needs to see that.
I think it'd be a fun show. It'd be another good programming service for your Dan Tortora media empire.
Yeah, I mean, I think, listen, because I've told people before, I go, if you want to watch The Bachelor in a more immersive, funny way, let me sit next to you. So, because I think I do a really good impression of Chris Harrison. I know he's not there anymore, but Chris Harrison, when, you know, I would just come in and you look around the room, ladies, there's 14 roses. There's 12 of you. 14 minus 12 is 2, which means that 2 of you will not get a rose. I'll remind you of this every step of the way in case you forget the mathematics of the room. And then when the 2 girls aren't chosen, he's like, Emily, Samantha, you do not have a rose in your hand. Look down. Is it there? It's not. That's because you haven't been chosen. Come up here in front of America and the world, embarrass yourself, and try not to cry. And he can tell you why he didn't give you a rose. Because every other woman in this room is better than you, according to him, and you're not. So now we're here to embarrass you. I mean, it's like that to look down and go, Bob, that's the last rose. There's 3 women. You got 1 rose. You can't choose all 3. There's only 1 left. And then they zoom in on it. I was like, this is like John Madden when he was calling a football game. It was like the most obvious, bless him in heaven, the most obvious thing on the field. And that's what The Bachelor has become. That's all it is. It's like, hey, there's one. And by the way, to all the women and men on the show, when you get toward the end of The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, I'm going to spoiler alert this thing for you. When you get to the end and you get to the honeymoon suite or whatever they call it, the romance suite, and that person tells you I'm not sleeping with anybody because I haven't made my mind up yet, they sleeping with everybody.
Everyone on that show, I think they all are having different actions and things like that. There's no way. Like, they're constant. They meet each other and 5 seconds later, they're like, I love you, you love my life. They're kissing like 7 women in the span of 5 minutes. I'm like, it's ridiculous. I'm like, I'm surprised there's not just STDs galore out on a show like that. Maybe there is. We just don't know about that. The behind the scenes of a show like that.
The untold story. Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
I can honestly tell you that, I mean, and how many of them, of the 47 Bachelor and Bachelorettes in total that have come out, 3 of them have worked? I mean, listen, it's a very difficult, I can tell you
Even
this.
Golden Bachelor, that first one, I remember they made a big deal about that. They got married, and I think the marriage lasted about 3 months, and they got divorced very quickly. So even for the older generation, they finally meet allegedly the love of their lives. That didn't work. So I don't know. It doesn't seem like there's much of a success rate there.
Well, and you're in the public eye for the rest of your life. This is how I look at it, okay? I live a very public life when it comes to my job. But when it comes to my personal life, leave me alone. And that's how I am. I mean, I want to have that. I want to have that peace. And that's important to me. It's important to, like, the things that are most important to me are, you know, are happening between me and that person. And my relationships are extremely important. So as much as, I have a public company and do things in the public, I am also a very private person. And I think a lot of people don't think that of me because they see me all the time. But it's like I'm a very private person when it comes to the things that matter to me, because I've learned over time that you have to be very close to your vest on what matters to you and what you care about. And so when I'm spending time with my dog, or I'm going out on doing something, or I'm going on a vacation or something like that, like I enjoy peace and tranquility, because you fight for it in this world, and when you fight for it and you achieve it, you keep it. So it's very important to do that. So with that being said, for The Bachelor, for Welcome to Derry, for Rose and her evil ways.
This show is all about The Bachelor, and forget about the drive. You were bamboozled. You were tricked into tuning on this show. There'll be no bracket, no sports. It's just going to be all about TV and bachelorette parties and all that stuff. We're going to talk about it all. Scream 7. That's what you've been tricked into watching. You might as well go click on the Super Power Puff and watch Spider-Man trailer 12 times in a row, because you've been tricked into watching a show that will have no college basketball March Madness in it. Dan fooled you. That's the spoiler alert. He fooled you, and now you're trapped with us for 2+ hours of this crazy journey.
So this is what's going to happen. I am going to take a step aside inside the Great Lakes Honda City studios, and when we come back, we will talk about the NCAA.
He's never coming back. It's like your dad. I'm going out for cigarettes. No. He's never coming
Hear
back.
me out. When we come back, we will talk NCAA tournament. But before that, I'm taking out. Do I have one here? Do I have something that can mimic one? Okay, so I'll utilize this. This is the closest thing to me. So I will take my Men in Black wand. I will zap your memory of everything you've had. And now we will be back right after this inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. The bracket will be unveiled as promised right after this.
Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge, and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item, available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. we prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
And now a message from Myers Creek Brewing Company, with locations at their Cazenovia Farm Brewery, Syracuse Inner Harbor Tap Room, and soon-to-be Lake Placid Tap Room.
Well, I think first and foremost, the Feldmeyer family and our team are extremely passionate about what we do. We care very much about what we do. The Feldmeyer family is always investing. Our taproom management team, our brew management team, our marketing management team, and all of the team members that get after it every day, they leave it on the field. They put their heart and soul into it. I know for a fact that everyone that works at Myers Creek wants to be there, and we want them to be there. You know, we want them to feel good about their job. And again, if you've never been to a Myers Creek, especially to the brewery, I mean, I want your eyes to open really big. I want you to see how big of a brand this is. I want you to see where we're going. The sky is the limit, and I feel very proud of that, and I'm very excited about that. When you think of designing a menu for a brewery, it's kind of open to a lot of different interpretations. I mean, you can do American, you can do Asian, you can do Italian, and you just have to find, you know, how that meets that pub style dining experience, that gastropub vibe. And I think it's super fun for us because obviously we know that, you know, everyone in the world's going to sell a pizza or a burger or a french fry, but what can we do to be different? And what can we do to be true to who we are? We are a brewery, you know, a brew pub. So the flavor profiles are kind of all over the place, and I think it's super cool that we have a massive smoker at the brewery in Cazenovia, and we smoke a lot of our products. We have a delicious smoked turkey. We have barbecue ribs on Sundays. From a pulled pork sandwich to a chicken wing, you go to the Inner Harbor and you go to the Caz location and you'll find similarities in the menu, but also things that are a little different and also kind of fit those different demographics or different communities, and also hopefully just drive you to try every tap room that we have open at some point, because you get a little something different at each one. You know, we understand how hard it is to, you know, work every day and get after it every day, and when you're done at the end of your day, you want to go out and put your feet up in a good ambiance and good environment. So we take pride in that. We make sure that everyone knows that they're very much valued to us.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Happy to be here with you to talk about movies. Kidding. So we're here on the drive. We have done this for many, many years. Ross, how many years?
I think it's been 15 years. I think 2011 was our first year. I think I remember you having a crazy date that you brought into my apartment, and I had to go next door to my parents while you were hanging out. And then we did a show, and I don't even know. I don't think it went well, the date, but I think we did the drive, and that's where it was born, right in my apartment. So that was my first memory. I think UConn won the national title that year, and here we go, a decade and a half later, we're still cooking.
Yeah, I remember that date. Yeah, I do. So, yeah, that was weird. That was a weird...
It was like Power, I don't know, it was Power Women or Power of America, some sort of organization. I don't remember the name, but she was part of some sort of organization. She had a meeting, and from there, you know, she's your new the new Mrs. Tortora. Maybe not. Maybe future Mrs. Tortora. No. Who knows?
No. I do remember her name because it's the name of a salad, but that is not. Yeah, no, it didn't. It didn't work out by any stretch of the imagination. It was very short lived. But she did have me buy her Olive Garden to bring to her house. But yeah, I mean I forgot until I remembered. But yeah, 2011 makes sense because that's when I came back from Florida. So that does make sense. So we've been doing it for 2011 to now, 15 years. So happy 15-year anniversary to you, Ross, for the drive. Capital D for myself, Dan, capital R for Ross. And the drive will take you all throughout the journey of the 2026 NCAA Division I men's basketball tournament. Ross and I
which already kicked off last night, and we already had like some crazy games already. It was,
two fantastic games, two awesome moments.
Dick Vitale and Charles Barkley calling a basketball game in the tournament.
By the way, there's a couple things. Barkley NC State called their final timeout, and Barkley, it's like they didn't shut his mic off. Barkley goes, they got a timeout left? so that was one of the things he said. My favorite thing that Charles Barkley said, and my favorite, not because I don't like Grant Hill, because I like Grant Hill, but my favorite thing that Charles Barkley said, and I forget the name. I gotta say this correctly. So let me make sure. I gotta look up, because I don't want to mess it up. Grant Hill's parents. I gotta get their names here. So Calvin and Janet, yeah. So he was talking about something with Grant Hill, like something got brought up, and he said this on live. This is Charles Barkley. He said this.
He can say whatever he wants. He'll get away with it.
He said this on live television, and to Charles, you got to talk like that. but Charles, because when a guy's banging you, like when the things that he says, and so he says on the live feed yesterday. This dude says, he goes, Grant Hill ain't done nothing in his life. He goes, the only thing he done has been the son of Calvin and Janet Hill. And that's all he did. I remember sitting there last night going, this man, he don't care who he pisses off, who he fights with. I was like, why are you mad at Grant Hill? What did Grant Hill do to Charles Barkley? There must have been a game where maybe something happened between the two of them. But he said in the first day of the tournament, in the first four in Dayton, he said, ain't nothing Grant Hill done in his whole life except for be the son of Janet and Calvin Hill, is what he said. And I was like, he's a bad man. He is a bad man.
You never know what's going to come out of his mouth, so it's must-watch television. So to have him paired with Dickie V, with Diaper Dandies, and Dick Vitale has overcome a lot of health issues with cancer and everything, so it's great to see him out there. Hopefully pretty healthy at his age. I think he's in his 80s now. And it was just great. It was nice to see that tandem along with Brian Anderson, who's a great play-by-play voice. And we got two more playing games. I know they don't call it playing, the first four. It's still playing games to me tonight. And then, who would have thought UMBC got knocked out? I thought they would win because, remember, they were the first team 8 years ago in 2018. It came on my newsfeed I think the other day. I think it was Monday. 8 years ago to the day, the first ever 16 seed, David to knock off Goliath to beat number 1 seed Virginia Cavaliers with Tony Bennett as the head coach. Not the late great singer Tony Bennett, the head coach who now works with the Lakers. He then, the year after getting embarrassed as the first number 1 seed to get loose to a 16 seed, they won the national title in 2019, the year before COVID. Yeah. But they were the first team, UMBC, and then Purdue got upset by a 16 seed. So it's only happened twice. But and it's always tough to do. But UMBC got knocked out by Howard, and then Texas edged out NC State by 2 points. So we already had some close thrillers that went right down to the buzzer and got 2 more. But still, buddy, my favorite days of the tournament are Thursday and Friday, tomorrow and Friday. First days of the tournament, you got from high noon, 12 o'clock, all the way till after midnight when the West Coast games are over. And back when we were in school, we would either the teachers, usually they're the male teachers, they were willing and wanted the games on TV. This is before everyone had cell phones. They would put the TV on. There would be like a big TV up on the top, of, like almost by the ceiling. They'd put it on because they wanted to watch the game with us. Or we would try to trick the teacher, especially if it was the substitute teacher, like, oh, if we're really good, if we do this, can we put that on in the background? And everyone would try to hush and watch the games and watch the buzzer beaters and the Cinderella stories and the glass slippers and all that, the Valparaisos of the world, Bryce Drews and all that crazy stuff. Those first 2 days of the tournament, before teams get eliminated and there's less and less matchups and less day matchups, you get entire days of basketball from 12 noon to 12:30 in the morning, but over 12 hours of basketball Thursday and Friday. So that's the 2 days I'm most pumped for. And before our brackets get destroyed and you're ripping into shreds like confetti. But these playing games are nice. But to me, they're still playing games. Thursday and Friday was where the nitty-gritty part of it. But we already got off to 2 really good games to kick off the tournament last night.
Yeah, the first four, and I've been there for it. I was there for a few years back. I went to see Syracuse, St. Bonaventure, Radford was there as well. Got to see a bunch of teams in the first four. It was my first experience of the first four on site, on location in Dayton, Ohio, which was really awesome. It was an awesome time, and I want to thank Dayton. They were a wonderful arena and wonderful just experience overall. And so, yeah, I mean, this initial part of the NCAA tournament, the first four, the play-in games. Now, I'm going to say a couple things. One of the things that I'll say is the games last night, to your point, were really awesome. I mean, Texas and NC State, two teams that got into this thing as some of the last teams in. They were both an 11 seed fighting for that line. And that line of the 11 seed putting them up against BYU in the bracket. So I'm looking at it right now. And so, like, whoever won that game has to play BYU. And seeing this game, it was awesome. I mean, T-Mark was incredible. He made the last two shots. I think there was 2 seconds left on the shot clock, and he had a defender on him. He had a turnaround jump shot that he nailed. Then he nailed a deep shot right after that. And, NC State didn't get the shot off because of a block at the end of the game. Williams was having a great game, and he was blocked cleanly at the end of the game. So 68-66, great timing and defense and the willingness of somebody to put their body out there, not knowing if a foul was going to be called or not. And then the Howard UMBC 16 seed game, UMBC in the same conference, the America East, as Binghamton, and Howard wins that game 86-83. Howard had gotten out to, I think, a double-digit lead. They were putting themselves in a good position, and then that came down to one possession as well. So you got a one-possession game in the first two games of the tournament, which gets you excited for what's to come. We had big dance, big-time, awesome moments, and this is only the beginning of the tournament in the first four.
You're going to get Miami, Ohio, who a lot of people are like, oh, they should, like Bruce Pearls of the world. He wanted his Auburn team to get in, and that didn't happen. They once they lost in their conference tournament, they're like, oh, they shouldn't be in. I think they deserve to be in, even if they're in a weaker conference. They were 31-0. They were 20th ranked in the country. Yes, they were facing weaker competition than the big boys in the big conferences, but they almost went undefeated before UMass knocked them off in the conference tournament. But Miami, Ohio takes on SMU tonight, and I think SMU beat Syracuse in the first round of the ACC tournament that knocked them out, and that was the end of Coach Autry's time in Syracuse. And I still tell you, I want, as the guy who was around screening for a long time, he's doing great work at Siena. It thinks he's a 16 seed against Duke and probably going to lose. Yeah. I'd love to see Jerry McNamara, the great Syracuse Orange, and all the great things he did with the Big East title and the national title with Carmelo his freshman years with Carmelo. I'd love to see GMAC come back to Syracuse and be the head coach. That's what I want to see. Yeah. But I digress. But Miami, Ohio versus SMU tonight, and then Prairie View versus Lehigh, who won on a buzzer beater in their conference tournament. Yeah. And Lehigh is not too far from where I am in Pennsylvania. So those should be fun matchups tonight before we get to the nitty-gritty on Thursday afternoon.
Remember a few years ago, folks, Lehigh won over Duke. So, looking at this Prairie View, A&M, and Lehigh, I wasn't surprised. I put them on the 16 line because of their records. They both won their conference tournaments, but 18-17 and 18-16. I figured there's a good chance they would be a play-in game. The Miami of Ohio versus SMU game, listen, Miami of Ohio has one loss this entire season. They played schools that were not Division I schools. There's a few on their schedule that don't even have logos on ESPN. And so, I mean, that I don't think is the greatest, nor they didn't play a single ranked team all season. But so, I mean, if they were Big Ten football, they'd be in the college football playoff. But Miami of Ohio, being where they're at, and 31-1, you got to give credit where credit's due. SMU on the other side of this thing, I know Andy Enfield. I just spoke with him a few days ago, and I actually spoke with him after they got selected into the NCAA tournament. So, Andy is someone who's worked really hard with this team. His team's done a tremendous job. In my opinion, they were the last team in over Florida State in the ACC. I predicted that the ACC would get 8 teams in. I could argue 9 because Florida State pushed Duke to a 1-point game. And if Duke is considered the best team in the country, then there should have been something to that for Florida State above some of these other teams like Ohio State. And, I would argue maybe a Texas or a Texas A&M, but Texas has obviously proven that they have earned the right to be there now. But in this SMU Miami of Ohio game, my concern for this is, Miami of Ohio was let in by the skin of their teeth because they didn't have the schedule. They didn't have the wins in the NET, but, the net rankings and all that stuff. But they had a great record. Now, a couple of years ago, the current coach of Louisville, Pat Kelsey, was the head coach of the College of Charleston. And at the time, they were like 31, 32-0, somewhere around there. And they had made the statement of the College of Charleston saying that if they didn't win their conference tournament, they're probably not getting in because they didn't have the schedule to prove it. So back then, just a couple of years ago in the tournament, they said, hey, this team's got to win or they're probably out even if they're undefeated. Or like they have to go undefeated, win their conference tournament. It doesn't matter that they're 30-plus wins into the season and, haven't lost going into their conference tournament. That's kind of where Miami of Ohio was. They lost in their first game. Number 1 seed versus the number 8 seed in the MAC, UMass. And so that was a bad look, but they still let them in. And
well, that's why I think it's important. They need to have a good show and be competitive this game and preferably win this game against SMU, because if not, people who and teams that were on the bubble and critics of Miami, Ohio, like they don't deserve to get in once they lost the conference tournament, even though they were undefeated before that. They're going to bash them and say, oh, they didn't deserve it. They beat up on crappy schools, that this team was weak, shouldn't have been in, put another school like the 9th place team in the SEC and put the teams that were on the, further down the path, but in bigger conferences, better strength of schedule. That's why they need to be competitive and preferably win this game, because if they don't, it's going to prove the narrative right and will hurt teams down the road who go 31-0, lose in a conference tournament game, and say, oh, they don't deserve to get in unless they win their whole conference championship to get the automatic bid. So for Miami, Ohio's sake, and for the other future underdogs from these small conferences, they need to find a way to keep it close, bare minimum, don't get blown out, because then definitely Miami, Ohio's in the future are not getting in the tournament if they lose their conference tournament game. And if they win, they can shut up some of their doubters and critics, including the Bruce Pearls of the world, who are very loud about they don't deserve to get in and were pushing for his former Auburn school to get in instead. And they were one of the bubble teams that failed to make it. So I'm hoping Miami, Ohio pulls off a nice win tonight against SMU. It's not going to be easy. Let's just hope it's not a blowout. It's a competitive game. And then Prairie View and Lehigh, 2 evenly matched up teams, and we'll see what happens. The winner of Miami versus SMU, that's going to take on Tennessee Volunteers against the 6th ranked team there. So that will be interesting. The other ones will be a 16 seed, and that's going to take on the defending champion Florida Gators in the Prairie View Lehigh game. So that you're pretty much feeding them to the Gators. They get credit for a conference tournament win. They get some money for the school, but the Florida Gators are going to be ready and amped to crush them. So we'll see what happens. But I'm hoping we have 2 good games tonight to really get this tournament continue the momentum.
Well, and the thing is, I'm happy that Miami of Ohio is in it, but I'm not happy with the matchup because SMU, in my opinion, and like I said, I believe they were the last team let in from the ACC and let in over Florida State because I had made my predictions, wrote them all down in my notebook. They're literally sitting right here. I can prove it to you right now. And so, I'm one of those people that keeps a paper trail. So I had the automatic bids and I had everybody that had won their automatic bids, and I started to seed who the automatic bids were going to be. And then I had my at-large, and I was coming up with from what conference, who's going to make it. And I had written all of the ACC schools, and I wrote Florida State. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot about SMU. And then I was sitting here going, well, I don't know if they're going to put 9 in. And they didn't. They put 8 in, and SMU was the one that got in over Florida State. Here's the thing with SMU. Boopy Miller, there's guys on this team like Boopy that can take over the tournament, and they can really be a darling in this thing, but they got to get past Miami of Ohio. I want Miami of Ohio to have a good showing. I want them to show that the conferences outside of the Big 10, the Big 12, the ACC, the SEC, the Big East, and, the West Coast Conference is going to be different without Gonzaga, but, like that. And, obviously this committee fell in love the last couple of years with the Mountain West, and they put way too many Mountain West teams in, not this year, but in the past. So when you look at the MAC and all these other conferences, I want them to have the opportunity for double bids. So, or more than one bid for multiple bids is what I mean. So Miami of Ohio, I want the Red Hawks to show out, but at the same time, I want SMU to go because I don't think SMU should be in a play-in game. So this is going to be a hard one for me because on one side, I'll be happy for the MAC and I'll be happy for Miami of Ohio getting a good win, a quality win that they can hang and put a, feather in their cap. But then on the other side of it, I don't want, look at what they've done to the ACC. I mean, they put 2 ACC teams in play-in games. That's not typical for a conference of the stature of the ACC. So to have NC State lose, and if you have SMU lose, then that could turn around, and then the committee could say, okay, we didn't give the ACC a lot of spots the last 3 years. Now we gave you 8. You lost the play-in game, so now we're going to give you 5 again next year, or whatever that may be. So I want SMU to win for the sake of the ACC. I want Miami of Ohio to win for the sake of all the conferences that don't get the love. So to me, it's really hard to choose this one because of the fact that, I can see the positives on both sides of this thing. And then Prairie View A&M and Lehigh, I mean, listen, whoever wins that game, these are 2 teams that made it because they won their conference tournament. The only way that you can win with a record of 18 wins and almost as many losses is a few years ago if you were Indiana or Duke, who made it over Syracuse when Syracuse had 20 wins. So we'll see what happens. Let's pick the first 4, though, Ross. Let's do it before we unveil our official bracket of the 64 teams. Let's go Prairie View, A&M, and Lehigh. Who you got?
I'm going with Lehigh. I just like the mojo they work, and I saw that really fun buzzer beater that they had in their conference tournament. And they're a localish school that's only about an hour away from where I am, and I've seen them do some damage in the tournament. I think Lehigh, they're both flawed, mediocre teams around 500. I think Lehigh will win that. And then the other one, SMU is to me would be favored to win, but I'm going to stick up for the little guys because I'm going to say Miami, Ohio wins and gets a signature win against a big conference school, because if they don't, again, they're going to hold that against them and all the other small schools that come from here on out. So I'm hoping it's competitive. I'm going to go with Miami, Ohio in a close, 2 3-point game, 1 possession game, and they'll find a way to win. I think the Tennessee Volunteers will crush them in the next round of the tournament, but I think Miami, Ohio is going to find a way to survive, beat SMU. So I'll go with them in Lehigh to win tonight.
Yeah, I'm going with Lehigh. I like Lehigh. Prairie View A&M. Listen, I'm happy that they're there. I'm happy that they made it. But I got to go with Lehigh in this game. Lehigh is granted they had different coaches. It was a different time, right? You have different personnel, but Lehigh doing what they've done in the tournament already, their pedigree, their history. I'm going to lean on them and say that they're going to have a little bit more here, and they'll be able to figure it out and get it done. And shout out to Prairie View A&M and Lehigh for both winning their conference tournaments. And then I'm going SMU because I think that SMU can strike. I think that they can make a run. Like I said, you got a guy like Boopy Miller. There's other guys on this team. I've covered SMU. I've been around this team. I interviewed them at the beginning of the season before they played a game, and I just interviewed them at the ACC tournament, hoping that they would get into this NCAA tournament. So I'm going to go SMU, not because I've interviewed them. I'm just saying, knowing this team, knowing the pedigree of knowing what they've done, how hard they've worked, and the fact that, listen, there weren't a lot of blowouts in the ACC tournament for the first 3 rounds. There was only one in the first 3 rounds, and that was SMU over Syracuse to beat them 86-69. So, SMU did a tremendous job. They played Louisville in the next round. They made that game interesting. It was red on red. And I think that SMU is going to get at least 1 win, maybe 2 in this tournament. So I'm going to have them win in this. Ross and I are going to jump to now going to the East bracket is where we're going to start things.
This bracket is loaded, by the way, with lots of Hall of Fame or future Hall of Fame head coaches and powerhouse schools. Whoever survives this bracket, it's going to be a tough one because you just look at some of these schools. You got Duke, St. John's, you got Kansas, Michigan State with Tom Izzo, UConn with Coach Hurley, UCLA, Louisville. There's a lot of powerhouses in this bracket. It's tough for anyone who got stuck in this bracket, including Duke, who's the number 1 overall seed.
Yeah, I will tell you this right now. The East bracket, I echoed your sentiments the last couple days, stating that you have Hall of Fame coaches littered throughout the East bracket. And we're
included potentially, it's only in year 2. GMAC for Siena is in there as well. Who knows, one day he might be in that list. But it's a murderer's row of Hall of Fame coaches and tough teams that you're gonna have to get past to get to the Final Four.
Yeah, and we're absolutely going to unveil that East bracket right after this. I see crest in them.
Yes,
Here's a message from Renee from Brian's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York. Open Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and Sundays for brunch.
It's a lot like the way that my mom and dad ran their restaurant. We have put in place a lot of people that are family to us, very similar to how my dad hired people that were family to him. And then the tradition I'm carrying on is a lot of the items that are on our menu are my dad's. And he taught our chefs how to recreate his dishes. So I think that Tommy McNerney, who our executive chef is, to him it is an art. And I think that when he does create a dish, it's not just about making the food taste delicious, which is definitely our priority, but it's an art to him, and it's almost like his canvas on a plate where he just wants the colors to look great, and people love it because he takes pride in that. And Brian and I appreciate that. We want it to obviously look good and taste good. I will tell you, when we opened up, it was 6 weeks before COVID. And what was amazing was the community, our friends and family stepped up, and everybody did takeout. Everybody supported us. Our hearts were just so filled. So to Brian and I, obviously our friends come all the time, and we just have repeat customers in Jamesville, and I think people going to our previous restaurant in Green Lakes are making the trip to come to Brian's Landing to support us. And I mean, I think we have great food and a great atmosphere. So it's very, very important to us.
Head to Brian's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York, where memories have become recipes that are now meals to share with you. Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and on Sundays for brunch. And be sure to come out for live music Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Life gets busy, and sometimes that means us running around. So Canine Camp Dog Daycare offers you an opportunity to give your dog a place to stay while you take care of what you need to throughout the day. Canine Camp Dog Daycare is located on 228 Old Bridge Street in East Syracuse, New York. You can see it from the highway, and it's just off of Erie Boulevard across from BJ's Wholesale Club. Call 315-437-7110. That's 315-437-7110 to schedule an appointment to bring your dog in and tour the facility. Appointments are Monday through Thursday after 6:30, where you and your dog can see everything that Canine Camp Dog Daycare has to offer, including a self-serve dog wash and a retail store filled with all of your dog's wants and needs, including food, treats, harnesses, leashes, and more, making Canine Camp Dog Daycare your one-stop shop for your furry loving friend. Right, Lily? In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. It's time to rock and roll inside of the NCAA tournament. This is The Drive, and we are truly bringing you through every single piece of the 2026 NCAA Division I Men's Basketball Tournament. This is year 15 of The Drive. Capital D for my name, Dan. Capital R for Ross Turetsky. Proudly presented by Great Lakes Honda City. Let's go. It is time to start in the East region, and I will defer to my better half of the drive, Ross Turetsky here. I'll be able to draw on here, so these are Ross's picks. So Ross will go first in this thing, and we will go through the drive. We'll start in the East, then we'll go to the West, the Midwest, and the South. Ross, take it away. I'll be bringing you through here. Let's start with Duke and Siena. 1 verse 16.
I'm going to go with Duke here. You got Carlos Boozer's son, Cameron Boozer, there. It's hard to believe I'm getting that old that his son is a star now for Duke, just like dad was 20-plus years ago with Jay Williams when they won the national title with Coach K. But Duke is a powerhouse team, great young coach. And it's a tough matchup for Siena just because, GMAC, all the excitement, just his second-year head coach in there, got him to win a conference championship, got them to the NCAA tournament 20 years after his senior year at Syracuse, where he led them to that miraculous run to the Big East title and getting the automatic bid in the NCAA tournament. He has a great future in coaching, whether it be for Siena or for a bigger powerhouse school down the road. So it's things that GMAC kind of and Siena get this matchup, but it's going to be a lot of eyeballs on it. I'm hoping the game is competitive, but in the end, Duke has too much firepower. I think they can keep it close for a while, but Duke will still win by at least 10 points, even if they put a little scare in them. So Duke will win to advance to the second round. Then with the 8 versus 9 matchup, it's always a close one. Ohio State Buckeyes versus TCU. I'm going to go with TCU to win. Coach Jamie Dixon, former Pitt Panthers coach, I like what he's been doing at TCU. I think they will have the edge on Ohio State in a close ball game. Then with the 5 versus 12 seed, you always get 12 seeds knocking off a 5 seed, so it's always right for the pick, and you have to be careful there. But I really like St. John's and Rick Pitino. I know that I was high on them last year. I picked them to go all the way last year. They got knocked out in the second round by, I call them Arkansas, and the great John Calipari, who's in the past done controversial things. I know you've not always been the biggest fan of John Calipari, so has Rick Pitino done controversial things. But Rick Pitino, St. John's, Red Storm, I think they are right for a big run here. They're coming off a Big East championship win at the Mecca of basketball, Madison Square Garden in New York City. They crushed their rival UConn Huskies with Coach Dan Hurley, who a lot of times rubs people the wrong way and is very, boisterous and crazy and very cocky. They dominate that Big East championship game the other night. So I think they are building on that momentum at the perfect time. I think St. John's will crush Northern Iowa to advance to round number 2. Then in a 4 versus 13 matchup, I like Bill Self's Kansas Jayhawks. They will knock off Cal Baptist, and we'll be making St. John's and Kansas in the second round. 6 seed versus 11 seed South Florida, Louisville versus South Florida. I'm going to go with South Florida, a little bit of an upset there. 11 seed South Florida, I like how they're playing. I think they can be dangerous. I think they can knock off Louisville here to go to round number 2. Then 3 versus 14 matchup. I'm going to go with Tom Izzo. Tom Izzo we trust because he got a lot of teams that a lot of people didn't think could do much. Very physical teams that were underdogs, and he always sees them gets them ready to go and make runs to the Final Four. I think Tom Izzo's Michigan State Spartans will easily beat North Dakota State. So the 3 seed will knock off the 14 seed. And then 7 seed UCLA, I have them beating UCF, the 10 seed. UCLA Bruins, they're a flawed team, but they're still a dangerous team. I think they'll go to round 2. And then to wrap up the first round in this very powerful bracket, I'll go with Coach Hurley's UConn Huskies, 2 seed over 15 seed Furman. They'll win bigly, at least by 15 to 20 points. They will get off the map. I'm sure he will build and will be hyping up and motivating his team that you got embarrassed at the Garden against a rival like St. John's. That can't happen again, and he will get his team ready to play in this tournament. And whether you like him or not, he will have a nice run here. So I think Coach Hurley and UConn easily gets to round number 2.
Ross said bigly. So when you look at this right now,
the president will be happy.
I know the president will be very happy.
While he's eating his delicious McDonald's. He has the same appetite that my 6-year-old son has. He loves Mickey D's, and so does the president. So they can't be wrong.
Excuse me. I believe I'm talking. I believe I'm here. I believe I'm talking. Okay, you said bigly. I appreciate it. Bigly, hugely, ginormously. It's all words that I created. They're now in the Merriam-Webster book dictionary thing of life, okay? And basically everything I say, it goes. So be with it, get with it, love it, feel it, like it. And let's continue on with the tournament. Take it away, Dan. You know what you're doing.
So now we're going here, and so you have the so that'll take us to the round of 32. Who's going to the Sweet 16 between Duke and TCU will start.
All right, have Duke continue on their nice run here. They'll knock off Coach Dixon's TCU team. Duke will get to Sweet 16. I think they win that pretty easily. St. John's versus Kansas, a nice matchup with two great coaches, Bill Self versus Rick Pitino. I think Rick Pitino, St. John's Redstone continue to build on that momentum and keep making a nice run here. I know I thought that last year, and they got knocked out in this same round 2 by our Kansas and Calipari. But I think this time St. John's wins. They will beat Kansas to set up a big matchup for the Sweet 16 against Duke. And then I have Michigan State and Tom Izzo. They go to the Sweet 16. They knock off South Florida. And then for my final matchup of round number 2 in this bracket, I have UConn Coach Hurley knocking off the UCLA Bruins pretty easily to set up a big juggernaut matchup between Tom Izzo, Michigan State, versus UConn and Coach Hurley, 2 national champion coaches, 2 future Hall of Fame coaches in the Sweet 16. So my Sweet 16 will be Duke versus St. John's and Michigan State versus UConn.
Yeah, and as we take a look at this and see how this all shakes itself out. I mean, again, this bracket is insanely... I don't know how you can regard Duke as the number 1 team in the nation and then give them a bracket like this where it almost feels like the NCAA selection committee was punishing them.
And how about St. John's, though? St. John's went on this great run. I know they had some flaws, some losses in the regular season, but they won the Big East tournament, which is one of the biggest conferences, biggest things at the Garden, and they win that, crush UConn. And I'm not saying there should be a number 1 seed, but you would have thought maybe a 2 seed, a 3 seed, 4 seed even. They got a 5 seed in a killer bracket with all these dangerous, tough teams, with all these great coaches. I think St. John's and Coach Pitino deserve better and more love after winning the Big East championship than a 5 seed and a lot of tough matchups to get to the Final Four in Indianapolis. So I think St. John's, a lot of these teams got a tough draw. Duke, as you mentioned, UConn had a tough draw, but I think St. John's really was kind of done dirty by the selection committee, only getting a 5 seed after winning their conference championship. Big East is a great conference and a really tough conference to win.
They put John Shire, Jamie Dixon, Rick Pitino, Bill Self, Tom Izzo, and Dan Hurley in the same region. And they only put 3 Big East teams in this entire tournament, which I thought that's what they're going to do. UConn, St. John's, and Villanova, those are the 3 that made it because the conference outside of those 3 teams is down this year, double-digit losses for the majority of the conference. But let's be real about something right now, folks. They want St. John's and UConn to play for a 4th time this season. And
Absolutely.
How does St. John's get put in the 5-12 danger line when they beat UConn in the Big East title game in Madison Square Garden by 20 points, 72-52? They only allow them barely over 50 points in the game, and they've beaten UConn 2 out of 3 times. So how does UConn lose their championship by 20 and be a 2 seed, and St. John's gets punished with a 2-1 record against UConn this year? None of that makes sense. Izzo getting a 3 seed, hey, you can make him. I told people a long time ago, if you wanted 16 seeds to have a better record, put Izzo as a 16 seed. Because it doesn't matter where you put him, he finds a way to at least win a game. And in the year, within the last couple of years, where they wanted almost the entire Big Ten to be in the tournament, and all of them lost, except for Tom Izzo, he's the last man standing. He's the zombie of the Big Ten. He finds a way to keep it going. Nobody can shoot him in the head. He just keeps doing it. And folks, obviously, I'm talking about zombies and Walking Dead, and you got to shoot him in the head. I'm not saying anything about Tom Izzo. Let's remember that there was a day where there was comedy and sarcasm and analogies. Let's remember that. So Tom Izzo is the everlasting Energizer Bunny. He just finds a way to make it happen. So he will continue to rock and roll, which gives us Duke, St. John's, Michigan State, UConn. This feels like a Final Four, but it's the Final Four of the East region.
Yeah, and then the Sweet 16. These are all great matchups. I'm going with an upset. I'm saying my first number 1 seed. A lot of people go chalk or they go with crazy upsets, and I do some of those. and a lot of them go chalk, and very rarely does that happen. Sometimes we get all number one seeds, but it's rare. I'm going to say the Duke Blue Devils are going to get knocked out. I'm going to continue to go on my crazy train. I know I was wrong last year when I thought they were going to go all the way. St. John's and Coach Pitino proved their doubters wrong after getting dissed by the committee, only getting a 5 seed after winning the Big East Championship. St. John's knocks off Duke in an all-time classic Sweet 16 matchup to go to the Elite Eight. And then UConn versus Michigan State, drum roll, is Hurley gets the upper hand. UConn will win a close physical battle, a war against Michigan State to set up for the fourth time, and I think that's what the committee wants. St. John's versus UConn, just like for the Big East title game, for all the marbles in the Elite Eight to go to the Final Four. That's my picks.
So we have St. John's, we have UConn, we have a Big East title rematch and a fourth game between the Red Storm and the Huskies. Is it Rick Pitino, the Al Pacino of basketball, or is it Dan Hurley, the man? Hoo-ha! Or is it Dan Hurley?
Hello to my little friend.
Or is it Dan Hurley, the man who is mad at the refs during the pregame warmups?
This will be a great battle. It's not going to be a 20-point blowout this time because, trust me, Coach Hurley will put bulletin board material. He will motivate the crap out of his team, saying, you got embarrassed at the Mecca of basketball at the Garden, in front of all those New York City fans, in front of all our fans. You let St. John's and Coach Pitino walk over you. They don't respect you. They destroyed you. I know as a coach, that's what I would do. I would motivate the heck out of my players to not let that happen again, to never be embarrassed again by our arch rival from the Big East Championship. Now for a spot in the Final Four. Ooh-ah. So I think it's going to be a lot closer. But in the end, drum roll please, St. John's will knock off UConn by 2 points, by a basket. Last team stand, last team with the ball. Might even go to overtime. St. John's will knock off Coach Hurley, who will have his team ready to play. It will not be a blowout this time like in the conference title game 3 days ago. St. John's, though, will win by one possession over UConn to get to the Final Four for the first time in a long time. I think since the 1980s when Coach Lou Carr II, like in 85, I think got them to the Final Four. St. John's will knock off arch rival UConn to get to Indianapolis in the Final Four.
Ross presenting us the East region in The Drive, proudly presented exclusively by Great Lakes Honda City, driving your way through the tournament and driving right off the lot with your next ride or your first ride ever. Go to 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York, to Great Lakes Honda City. Let them know the DT sent you as we continue the path through the the NCAA tournament. I'm already getting ready for the end of April. The path through the NCAA tournament, the East region. It is now time for my picks coming to you here on Wake Up Call, being unveiled for the first time inside these Great Lakes Honda City studios. Hoo-ha! So, like, now with Duke and Siena, I got to go with the Duke Blue Devils, man. I'm a big fan of Jerry McNamara. And to the people that thought he couldn't be a coach, he took Siena from the basement of the MAAC, the MAC. And I gotta say it that way.
Bring him back. I want to see it.
Hey, listen, I'm telling you right now. I'm telling y'all right now. You swing and miss on Jerry McNamara twice, that ain't going to be a good look for you.
You let him leave the first time. Don't make the same mistake again. The job is open. And they just had, I think it was South Florida's coach, just allegedly turned them down. He's either going to go to, I think, Providence or stay in South Florida. He turned you down. Go to GMAC. I think he'd accept that role. And the Syracuse community, you know it very well. You've been covering it and been living it for years. Yep. They will love and support GMAC to return and bring them back to prominence and back to being an NCAA touring team, which they didn't do in the 3 years under Coach Autry. Good guy, but couldn't get it done. Bring GMAC back, and I don't think you'll be sorry about it.
I'll tell you this right now. If this fan base got GMAC back and they found a way to boo him, I don't think this fan base would deserve much of anything after that. So you got to look at the fact that Jerry McNamara has found a way to win. He's only been a head coach for 2 seasons, and in those 2 seasons, he took a Siena team that was left for dead many years ago and brought them all the way through to the championship game of their conference tournament, winning the conference in the MAAC, and I got to call it the MAC because you can't call it the MAC because there is a MAC and there's a MAC, which is the MAAC, which is where he is coaching. The Siena Saints, a school that people are like, hey, if you get 18 wins, great. If you can find a way to maybe make the tournament, great. If you can just have a winning record, great. Well, this is a team that under Jerry McNamara is looking for much more. They got totally screwed with this 16 seed. In my opinion, they should have been a 14, somewhere around that region, even a 15, but not a 16. But I got the Duke Blue Devils winning this game. John Shire, man, I don't know if players like playing for a coach more than they like playing for John Shire when they're out there in Durham, North Carolina. I got Duke winning this one. The next one, Ohio State and TCU. Ohio State was one of the teams I did not have in my at-large predictions. Their NET ranking, not the greatest, and we really needed to have this many Big Ten schools in, folks, but I'm going to go with TC, and I know people think I hate the Big Ten. I do not hate the Big Ten. All I'm looking at is saying Ohio State over Florida State that pushed Duke to 1 point. That's what I'm saying. I'm looking at what have you done toward the end of the season, how good have you gotten? So no offense to Ohio State, I got TCU for the upset in the 8-9 matchup. Is it really an upset? These are usually the closest contested games, and rightly so. I have St. John's, the 5 seed, taking care of Northern Iowa. I don't care who's in front of Rick Pitino because that man is ready to go. Ricky P, that guy is smoking his cigar, looking at you. He is the baddest Mo F of an Italian that they got in New York City. Man, he makes sense, doesn't he? With Daredevil, Kingpin, Punisher, Hell's Kitchen. Man, Rick Pitino makes more sense than he ever has before. And
you see those white suits he wears? Those look really cool. He looks like Kingpin with those white suits.
I will tell you this right now. If there was ever a crime boss that people didn't know that he was, it's Rick Pitino. I'm going with the Kansas Jayhawks and Bill Self to win this game as well. Again, I don't understand how in the heck the East region got put together like this. Michigan's region looks like they can walk through the first couple rounds of it. Shout out to Cal Baptist for making their first tournament. Louisville and South Florida. I respect Pat Kelsey and the crew, but I got South Florida making it happen. The American only got one team in. Wichita State has taken some time to get back to the promised land. They made it to their championship game. Second best team in the American. Made it to the championship. Lost to South Florida. Somehow they're playing in the NIT. I severely disagree. I think Wichita State should have made it in the tournament. Even if you wanted to put them in a play-in game, I got South Florida winning this game. I got Tom Izzo because how the heck do you bet against Tom Izzo in the first game that he's going to have? North Dakota State, shout out to them for winning their conference tournament, but in Izzo we trust. UCLA and UCF, I'm happy UCF made the tournament. I wanted to put them in my at-large predictions, but I didn't think the committee was going to do it. They surprised me in a good way, put in UCF. Shout out to the work that they've done this season. The 7-10 matchup is a really good matchup that can go either way, and we'll talk about the other good ones coming up here. But I'm going to go with UCLA to win this game. I think UCLA is going to make somewhat of a run and have a little bit of a test here, maybe shock some people, maybe scare some people, and I got UConn and Dan Hurley to win that next game. Which brings me into the round of 32, and I have Duke versus TCU. I got the Duke Blue Devils moving forward here. Listen, people talk about, oh, Duke, you're without this player, you're without that player. I covered Duke in the ACC tournament. I watched this game, this team live, okay? I don't know what the hell they're missing. The Boozer brothers have been awesome. They're doing their thing. Cameron Boozer was electric, and then Caden, his twin brother, ended up taking over the championship game, and Caden Boozer that was his night where he had 16 points. When you look at Duke overall, I mean, Isaiah Evans, if he gets going from 3, you have Kamenia as well. So if Nick gets going, and then Malik Brown, so proud of this guy. 2-time back-to-back ACC tournament champ, Malik Brown, who transferred from Syracuse. His dream school was Duke. He's doing a terrific job, and I got to talk with John Shire right before I left this past weekend from being in Charlotte. And I said to John, I said 2 things, John. Number 1, congratulations. He smiled, shook my hand, and said thank you. I said, number 2, thanks for taking a chance on Malik. Malik Brown and the crew doing it. I don't see Duke as missing a lot of things. So when they talk about, well, you don't have this guy, you don't have that guy, it's Duke, okay? The walk-on, the water boy is going to be banging threes. That's what I believe when it comes to Duke. St. John's in Kansas, what a good matchup in the second round, but I got to go with the man that's really running New York City. It ain't you, Kingpin. That's Rick Pitino for the St. John's Red Storm. And then that'll take me to South Florida and Michigan State. And like I said, I got to trust Tom Izzo to get it done. Ross and I do not know each other's brackets before, so sometimes we're exactly the same. Sometimes we're close. Sometimes we're totally different. UCLA and UConn, Dan Hurley. I got to go with Hurls here, which gives us a Final Four in the East region, which is a bigger part of the Sweet 16 that has two Big East schools and has two coaches that are already Hall of Fame guys. Hurley, who's probably going to be a Hall of Fame guy, and John Shire, who's probably going to be a Hall of Fame guy. So we got four Hall of Famers, in my opinion, coaching against each other. Duke and St. John's, this is a really tough one for me. This is very, very difficult for me because I think Duke can make a run all the way to the championship game. And I went with St. John's last year, and they lost in the second round. Rick Pitino versus John Calipari again. And this time, John Calipari got him as the head coach of the Arkansas Razorbacks. So, I mean, and by the way, their rally cry, woo pig suey. And I mean, so I got to go. St. John's and Duke. I'm going to, you know what? I'm going to have to go Duke. I'm going to have to believe in Duke. I know. I'm going to have to
courage.
I'm going to have to go with Duke in this one. I think Duke is dangerous, and if Duke plays Kansas,
it's understandable. I get it.
So I got to go with Duke. And then when it comes to Michigan State and UConn, I see the hands being shook at the end, and I see a guy with a smirk on his face, and that's Dan Hurley. So I got to go with the UConn Huskies to face off against the Duke Blue Devils. And between the two of them, UConn and Duke, man, these are two teams that Syracuse fans detest, and they're facing off against each other in a year that Syracuse is not in the tournament for the fifth year in a row. Duke versus UConn, man, this is going to be a good one. This is going to be, I still think that there's a chance that this could be St. John's UConn, and I can agree with Ross on this. I'm going to go, man, this is so hard for me. See, the thing is if you mess up, if Tom Izzo wins the game, if we have Rick Pitino win the game, then it could blow up the whole thing here real quick. So do I go with John Shire or do I go with Dan Hurley? The question becomes, who do I lean on more, the 1 seed or the 2 seed? And I've seen how vulnerable UConn can be. So I'm going with the Duke Blue Devils to come out of what was given to them as the toughest bracket of the tournament. I thought that when you're the number 1 overall seed, you're supposed to get the easiest road. They gave Duke a bunch of grenades from like the first. You got to go up against Jerry McNamara in the first moment. What's to say Jerry's not going to go out there, wear somebody else's jersey, and hit a few threes before the refs know? So I'm going with Duke.
He'll sneak his buddy Carmelo in too, and they'll really dominate the court.
I'm just saying, I'm going with Duke in this, but my heart would love and not be mad at all if it's St. John's. So we shall see what happens here. Ross and I are going to take a quick step aside inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Great Lakes Honda City bringing you The Drive, bringing you through the entire 2026 NCAA Division I men's basketball tournament. Coming up next is the West region. We'll go from east to west right after this. Stay with us.
Hey everybody, this is Rockney Roberts from Willow Rock Brewing Company. We are here in Cicero at the Willow Rock Pizza Pub.
And I'm Kevin Williams, also from Willow Rock Brewing Company. Happy to be here and happy to be partnering with CNS and Dan Tortora.
You want some place where you can feel comfortable and hopefully ingratiate yourself with the community. And Kevin, he grew up right down the road from here. I grew up in Brewerton, so not too far away. We know the area, we know the people, they're great, and we're just really excited to be able to come to the area.
Yeah, and having the opportunity to meet some of these coaches, some of the people in general already, and seeing the CNS colors kind of around, and already partnering on a smaller level with individual teams really made this make sense to us to really formalize kind of a partnership with the school and get this rolling.
You know, Willow Rock to me has always been about high quality beverages, high quality experiences, and now high quality food in our pizza pub. You know, that was something new for us when we came to Cicero. Right from the drop, we knew we were going to have a focus on the highest quality food to go with our high-quality beer. At the Willow Rock Pizza Pub, you're getting high-quality, hand-cut, top-notch ingredients. We're open for lunch. That's a really important thing for us, is to be able to get that person in here like, hey, you only got 30 minutes for lunch, but we're going to have something for you that you can get quickly and available to everybody.
Yeah, we wanted something that was just a little bit outside the box, a little bit outside of comfort zone, but still something that you could rely on to be consistent and easy to look at and easy to be like, oh, I can see myself eating this. I can see myself wanting to have that more than once. Eating a whole pizza, like our beef on weck pizza, I've never seen one anywhere. It's just a great ideas, great inspiration across the board. We're their spot to stop. We're their friendly neighborhood watering hole, as well as pizza place and place to stop for a restaurant. Not just beer drinkers here. We've got wines, we got cocktails, we got non-alcoholic stuff for the kids.
The location is more important today than it ever has been before, and we're lucky enough to be here in Cicero. The Willow Rock Pizza Pub is a place where you can bring your family. You can come in, you can grab a soda, you can relax. You can come after a game, before a game, your parents, your grandparents. Our goal is to make sure that everyone's comfortable here. We want students, we want athletes, we want your coaches. It's going to be a good time. So come here, enjoy the high quality food, high quality beverage that we're going to offer to everybody. And hey, go North Stars.
We're so happy to have the North Stars. We are very much a kid-friendly establishment. We have tons of space outside for everybody to be playing outside, as well as listening to live music, enjoying some pizza.
The Willow Rock Pizza Pub is open 6 days a week here in Cicero. That is Tuesday through Sunday. And our website is willowrockbrew.com, and our socials are at Willow Rock Brew. So find us on the net, find us in person. We'll see you soon.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks, coming to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, is your one-stop sports card and trading card shop. You want to get close to the characters and the players and the teams you love? GG Cards and Breaks is a place to go. It's where you get to be a big kid, no matter what your age is. If you're 9 years old, go be a kid. If you're 39 years old, go be a kid. If you're 89, go be a kid at GG Cards and Breaks. They're open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 6, Sundays from 10 to 5, and they are filled with Disney Lorcana, Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, One Piece, while supplies last, hockey, boxing, or I should say wrestling, baseball, basketball, football. They're the only sports card shop that I know that has every NFL, every NBA, and every MLB team with their own box. And you can go through there and find rookies, autograph cards, patch cards, numbered cards. You never know what treasures you will find inside of the cases, singles, packs, and boxes. You can buy what you know by looking in the display case and say, I want that. Or you can get packs and boxes and have no idea what you're going to get. I've found some awesome treasures at GG Cards and Breaks that have helped to keep me a big kid, and they always will. Head to 639 Delmar Place today. You will not be disappointed. Right there in Syracuse, New York, off of Teal Ave. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life, Ross and I bringing you through the entire 2026 NCAA Division I men's basketball tournament, providing analysis and our picks in the drive. Proudly presented exclusively by Great Lakes Honda City inside the Great Lakes Honda City studios. And the drive drives along as we continue going here with the West bracket. I should actually say the South bracket. I don't know why I said the West bracket. You know what it is? The bracket that printed out put things in a different region for me. So it's been East, South, Midwest, West, but for some odd reason, it's got it printed out here a little bit differently. So we're going to go to the South region. My apologies for those of you that want the West. We'll get there in a second. Let's go to the South, Ross, and Ross is going to do his picks first. He'll analyze his bracket, let us know who's making it out of this bracket to the Final Four, as we've already picked the East bracket, where Ross has St. John's coming out, and I have Duke making it out of that bracket. Let's start with Florida playing the play-in game, or going up against the play-in teams that'll play today, Lehigh and Prairie View. For the defending national champions, what do you got, Ross?
All right, Florida Gators, they're going to take a big, mighty crunch out of the Lehigh team. Like I said, I think Lehigh wins tonight over Prairie View in their playing game. But I think Florida Gators, defending champs, no match, this won't be much of a battle. They'll crush Lehigh to advance the second round. Florida is going to be a dangerous team to make a run for the Final Four again. Then in the 8 versus 9 matchup, could go either way, but I'll go with, again, like I did with TCU as a 9 matchup with Ohio State in the East bracket, I'll go with the 9 matchup, 9 team over 8 seed. Iowa Hawkeyes knock off the Clemson Tigers in a close battle, 2 kind of evenly matched teams. Iowa will get the advantage there to take on the defending champion Florida Gators in round number 2. And again, a 5 versus 12 seed could go either way. Those are usually right for an upset. I only have one of the 4 brackets this year.
Did you say Clemson or Iowa? I'm sorry. Did I circle the wrong one? Who'd you say?
I have Iowa.
Okay, okay, I had it right. Okay, sorry.
I'll just give a sneak peek. I have 5 versus 12 seeds. 12 seeds usually pull at least one upset against a 5 seed. I have one of them, but not till later on in my bracket. This one, though, I think Vanderbilt been a nice one. The SEC tournament this past weekend, they will not be one of those teams that will get knocked out by the 12 seed. They'll beat McNeese. So it'll be Iowa. It'll be Vanderbilt, not Florida versus Iowa in round 2. Vanderbilt will take on the winner of 4 seed Nebraska, Cornhuskers versus 13 seed Troy. Nebraska. I looked this up yesterday when I was doing my own sports show. I didn't realize this. They've been around as a college basketball program for 130 years. They have never won an NCAA tournament basketball game. I thought that was a misprint. I'm like, there's no way. But they have never won it. And I think that finally that streak, 130 years later, finally comes to an end. I think Nebraska will defeat Troy to win their first ever NCAA tournament victory. And it will be Vanderbilt versus the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Nebraska's had a very good year this year. I think it will be Nebraska versus Vanderbilt in round number 2.
And you were surprised. I was surprised, too, to know that Nebraska has never won an NCAA tournament game, number 1. Number 2, they're 0-8, and that they've only played 8 times in the NCAA tournament. I thought that was wild, seeing that statistic that they've never won a game. They've only played in 8 of them, and they're 0-for. So just crazy that Nebraska has a 0% winning percentage in the NCAA tournament, and that they've only had 8 games in the NCAA tournament in their history, which is crazy for the Cornhuskers.
Yeah, it just sounds like something that would be made up.
Sounds made up.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem believable, but I think they finally beat Troy to get their first victory in the tournament. Then 6 seed North Carolina Tar Heels, they've been up and down this year. Tough matchup here against 11 seed VCU, who we've known has been one of those Cinderella teams that have pulled a lot of upsets in recent years in the tournament. They're always a tough team to knock out. VCU could definitely, I can understand if you want to pick VCU in this matchup. North Carolina is a flawed team out of the ACC. They could be beat. But I think North Carolina will, by the skin of their teeth, edge out a tough VCU team. North Carolina Tar Heels will win close to, as the 6 seed over the 11 seed. They will advance to round number 2. And you want to hear a crazy upset? I might drink the Kool-Aid. You might want to put me in an institution after this. I'm going with the Ivy League school, 14th seed Penn Quakers, who just edged out in overtime Yale for the Ivy League championship. They will knock off the Fighting Illini out of the mighty Big Ten.
Have the courage.
I have the courage. And Illinois and Big Ten, everyone hypes up the Big Ten as the greatest conference in the world. And I'm a big Penn State fan. I work at Penn State Scranton, so I love Penn State and the Big Ten. But I think Illinois is right for an upset, and I think Penn is the team to do it. They're dangerous. I know this is a crazy pick coming out of the Ivy League, win the championship barely. Penn will knock off Illinois, 14 seed over a 3 seed. My first gigantic upset, not 8 versus 9 matchup that was close. Penn will win a close game over Illinois out of the mighty Big Ten to advance to round number 2 to take on North Carolina. I have the courage. And then at the bottom of this bracket, I have the Texas A&M, the Aggies. The 10 seed will knock off St. Mary's, the 7 seed. St. Mary's is always battling Gonzaga in their conference, but even though Gonzaga is going to move on to a bigger conference next year, St. Mary's is always battling them for that conference championship. Texas A&M will edge out St. Mary's to go to round 2, and we've been big fans of them. They've fallen just short in the championship game and Final Four in recent years, but I think Houston Cougars, Kelvin Sampson's Houston Cougars, will knock off 15 seed Idaho, which is known for their delicious potatoes, baked potatoes. Houston will crush Idaho, and they will take on the Aggies in round number 2.
So that puts us in a place where Ross will now be moving into the round of 32 with Florida versus Iowa. We'll start there.
All right, Iowa, again, a tough team out of the Big Ten. They'll keep it close for a little bit, but Florida Gators, that defending national championship pedigree, their great young coach, they're going to be able to beat Iowa. They'll pull away in the second half. They'll win by at least 10 points. They will get to the Sweet 16 once again as they're trying to defend their championship. And then I will go with Vanderbilt versus Nebraska. I'm going to go with Nebraska, who has never won a tournament game in all those years. He said they've only even played in 8 of them after all those years. Nebraska will finally get off the schneid, beat Troy, and then they'll get their second win in a row. They will knock off Vanderbilt out of the SEC in a tough matchup. Nebraska goes to the Sweet 16 on a great run after years of struggle in this tournament. They will take on defending champion Gators from Florida in the Sweet 16. In the other second-round matchup, the last slipper, unfortunately, will shatter. I would love to be crazy enough. I don't even know if my pick will be right against Illinois. I picked Penn to beat Illinois, but I think the North Carolina Tar Heels, they'll knock off Penn in the second round to get to the Sweet 16. I would love to see Penn go even further, but I think their Cinderella story ends there. And then in the last of the second round matchups, I'll go with the Houston Cougars, who have been a tough team and really have gotten close the last few years to win the championship. The Cougars from Houston, they will knock off Texas A&M. A battle of the Lone Star State. Houston will win easily there to take on the Tar Heels in the Sweet 16.
So we got a team that won the national championship last year in the same bracket as the team they went up against. Will Ross have a rematch between Florida and Houston? What do you got?
Okay. You're going to see here, Florida Gators, they're going to continue their role. Nebraska, they finally win their first 2 tournament games ever. Hallelujah, hallelujah. But it shatters. It comes to a halt here. It comes to a crash and halt. But what a great run. Florida Gators will beat Nebraska to get to the Elite 8 again. And then Houston, the Cougars, knocks off the Tar Heels from North Carolina to set up the rematch from the last year's championship game, Florida versus Houston, for all the marbles in the Elite 8.
And so between Florida and Houston, is it another Houston debacle with 7 seconds left and they don't get a shot off? Or do the Cougars claw down the mighty Gators?
Houston, we don't have a problem from Apollo 13. This time, the Houston Cougars, they get their revenge. They've been ripe all year, been pumped, motivated to finally get revenge from last year's
Have the courage.
I have the courage. Another number 1 seed down the drain. I had Duke, the number 1 seed in the East, go down to St. John's Sweet 16. Another number 1 seed, this time the Elite 8, one step away from the Final Four promised land. Houston Cougars get revenge, knocks off number 1 seed Florida. We'll have a new national champion this year. No repeat champions this year, like Florida Gators did under the great Billy Donovan, who's now been coaching the Chicago Bulls for a while. He won the titles in 06 and 07 when like Joaquin Noah and all these other star players. I was when the two of us were in college when they last won back-to-back titles in 06 and 07. I don't think that will happen this year. I think Houston gets revenge. They beat Florida, and they will go to Indianapolis to play St. John's in the Final Four.
There you go. And by the way, folks, I didn't mess this up. I'm looking at the bracket right now. It is East, West, Midwest, South. I don't know why I flipped the South and the West. So Florida is the 4th number 1 seed, which is why they're in the South bracket. And so that's we'll get back on track with that. But let me make my apologies. We should have went to the West, but we actually did one side of the bracket, then we'll do the other side. So it works out either way. That's Ross's bracket. That's where he stands. Where do I stand in the drive? Bringing you through the 2026 NCAA Division I Men's Basketball Tournament, proudly presented by Great Lakes Honda City, inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, bringing you year 15 of the drive. Capital D for my name, capital R for Ross Turetsky, my better half of these broadcasts with the drive. In the South region, I'm going with them Gators to win that first game. Go Gators. And that's for Papa Joe right there. Florida Gators will win this game. Why? Because I don't consider either one of the 16 seeds going to be a threat to them.
Buddy, when you say Gators, I just think of Waterboy and Adam Sandler as Bobby Boucher when they said, water sucks. It really, really sucks. And they're like, Gatorade. Gatorade tastes better and quenches your thirst better, Bobby Boucher. That's what I think. I just think of Waterboy, the battle, the age-old battle. What's better on a hot day, water or Gatorade? So that's what I think when you talk about Gators. And that's where Gatorade started. That's why they call it Gatorade. Yeah. It was started at the University of Florida.
Yeah, that formula was started with the Gators to help them out. Now it helps out everybody. That's why the Gators stopped winning championships, because now everyone has the same competitive advantage. I'm kidding. So the next game that we have up here, Clemson versus Iowa. You know what, folks? Brad Brownell, he is now the longest tenured head coach in the ACC. There was a time a few years back when he was a few years into his time at Clemson where they thought, are they going to fire this guy? This isn't a basketball school. Let me tell you something about Clemson. Clemson is a team that a few years ago pushed themselves very far in this tournament. They're a team that was really close to getting to that Final Four and having an opportunity with Joe Girard III and company. And so what I can say about Clemson a couple of years after that is that they have built a program that they have good players that reach high places in basketball. And then those players move on, they finish their eligibility, and now they bring in more players that are doing it. Who would have thunk that Clemson would be right back in the thick of things in the ACC? And who would think, but I do, Clemson is going to be facing Florida. We're going to have an all-orange round of 32. Then Vanderbilt, they're going to beat McNeese. By the way, shout out to McNeese. They have been to the tournament by winning their conference tournament 2 of the last 3 seasons. They've done it with different players and a different head coach. So not only have they won and gotten into 2 of the last 3 NCAA tournaments, they've done it with a different leader and different leaders on the floor. So shout out to them, but I got Vanderbilt doing the thing. And have the courage. What did the Trojans do? They sent that horse in and they said, we got a present for you. Psych! Guess what's inside of it? An army. And them Trojans, they're going to go to that Cornhusker land and they're going to take all your stuff. The Trojans are keeping...
They're still not going to get a win.
They're not going to get a win.
They can't get a win in this tournament.
No, Nebraska will be 0-9 after Troy is a big-time upset in this round of 64, the 13 seed moving on. North Carolina and VCU is one of the toughest games that I have to pick. The 6-11 matchup, man, this is a beast. Hubert Davis and his team, they just didn't get it done. They're without Caleb Wilson, but North Carolina, they do have talent. They got some guys out there that can do some things. VCU's dangerous. VCU won the A-10. I'm really concerned with this game for North Carolina because I think VCU, and I bought a VCU hat years ago. It's one of my favorite hats. It's super comfortable and soft. I was down at VCU on campus. I went to their bookstore and I bought a hat. Why did I do it? Because of the days of Shaka Smart back in the day. So I am sitting here today saying to you in the almost 11th hour that I'm still not 100% sure of this game. So I am going to go with
your gut. When you're not sure, either go with your gut or do rock, paper, scissors, shoot. So whatever it takes, or flip a coin at that point, like you're Harvey Dent Two-Face in The Dark Knight. When it's close, and especially if you only do one bracket, I only do one bracket, bracket of integrity. I don't do 20 different brackets with 20 different results. I like to do one bracket that's legit, and I stick with it, even if I get ripped to shreds on the first day of the tournament. Just go with your gut or flip a coin at that point, because it's tough. Because VCU, we all have seen the last several tournaments. They've gone on great runs, and VCU is a dangerous team. Can they beat a Florida, North Carolina team?
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. North Carolina, I was there. I was at the press conference. I talked to Hubert Davis after that game. Man, it felt like Henry Visar, it seemed like he made 6 threes or 10 threes down the stretch. He made 3 of them, but it felt like he made so many more to make that a game against Clemson. What a heck of a game it was in the quarterfinals of the ACC for the 4-seed North Carolina versus the 5-seed Clemson. But I gotta go with VCU, man. I kept looking at it. I kept circling, and my head kept saying VCU, so I'm going VCU. I know that Ross thought, and I've thought about Penn, I really have, but I'm going with
Have the courage, Ivy League, baby.
Listen, I've gone with a 13 seed, 11 seed in this already. I'm going with Illinois to face off against VCU.
You won't drink the Kool-Aid with me. No. I wasn't successful in convincing them.
Now, St. Mary's and Texas A&M, St. Mary's they are the kings of being in the 7-10 matchup, be it the 7 or the 10. The Gals have done their thing, and they've made it happen. St. Mary's has just been a heck of a program, and they have pushed Gonzaga. Santa Clara had a great year. My prediction was that the West Coast Conference would get 3 teams in. They did, with Gonzaga winning. St. Mary's and Santa Clara got in as at-large. Shout out to them. They're going up against Texas A&M, and I just don't see them beating Texas A&M. It makes me sad, but I got to go with Texas A&M, the 10 seed here, that I think is actually going to be the favorite in the game. So I'm going with Texas A&M to get the victory. And then, for those of you that may have remembered a couple years ago when I wrote on a sheet of paper, Houston, no matter what, I'm going with the Houston Cougars.
You love those Houston Cougars. You've been talking them up for a long time that they're going to be winning a national title, maybe the year.
I've been interviewing their players with the NCAA tournament, thanks to the NCAA and all the opportunities that they give to me, and to be able to do coast-to-coast, north-to-south interviews. And, I pray that continues this season as the access has been granted. So I pray that all works out by the grace of God. And I know that it will, because God is great all the time, and all the time God is great. So I'm going with Houston. Florida versus Clemson. This is a tough one for me, but I'm going to go with the Florida Go Gators in this one. And I'm going to have a rematch when the Florida Gators will take on Vanderbilt once again in an SEC matchup where Vanderbilt wants to get those Gators one more time. Vanderbilt doing well in basketball and in football. Shout out to them. And in baseball over the years. And then as we look at VCU and Illinois, could I do it? I'm doing it. VC motherfreaking U is moving on to the wonderful world of the Sweet 16. And between Texas A&M and Houston, I'm going with the Cougars to make it happen once again. So will I have a rematch of last year's national championship game? I will not. The Vanderbilt Commodores will be taking down Florida with their next shot at them.
Wow.
And Houston will be facing off against Vanderbilt, and Ross and I may have gotten here a different
upset right there. If that happens, that'd be big.
I know. Well, listen, it's an upset to some. It's a rematch of 2 teams that know each other. So you have, we know each other. He's a friend from work. Shout out to Thor Ragnarok. So Vanderbilt, the 5 seed, will take on the number 1 seed Florida, take them down. And VCU, the number 11 seed, will face the number 2 seeded Houston. Houston will win that game, and Houston will play Vanderbilt. And after Vanderbilt takes down the mighty Florida Gators and does not allow them to win back-to-back national championships before they even get to Houston, Vanderbilt will get to Florida first, but Houston will get to Vanderbilt, and the Cougars will head back to the Final Four. They've been one of the teams that I've thought for like the last 4 or 5 years are a Final Four caliber team, and they haven't really proven me wrong that much. So I'm going with the Houston Cougars to make it out of the South region. Ross and I will head to the West here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of The Drive, proudly presented by Great Lakes Honda City inside the Great Lakes Honda City studios. Stay with us. Right after this, we'll be bringing you the West and the Midwest.
This is Jim Dispenza, owner of Game Point Sports Complex. You hear the same story across any sport that kids play and any sport that adults play. There's never enough places to play. That was definitely true with volleyball, definitely true with basketball. Could be cheerleading, it could be field hockey, which is what we're seeing now. Every sport has a lack of places to play, and I think Syracuse in particular is a place where it's really bad. Despite the fact that we've got a lot of athletic talent around here, we just seem to have not enough places for people to play, and they're going to different places. They're going to Rochester, they're going to, Buffalo. They're going all different places because we don't have a place here, and I felt like that should change. This was a long project from planning all the way through execution to opening the doors. A lot of work went into it, obviously, a lot of money, a lot of resources, and the dream always was kids being in the gym, having a good time. And I've always felt like sports is the most unfiltered joy that you can observe with people, that people can experience, because it is fun, it is a sense of accomplishment, it's all of that wrapped into one thing. And so watching kids going up and down the court with big smiles on their faces has been just amazing experience. I'm looking forward to years to come of that same thing. We've taken the time to invest in multiple sports, and then what we're finding is the mere fact that we have a large, clean, well-lit space has opened a lot more doors for us beyond basketball, volleyball, pickleball. Now we're having some interest from cheerleading. We've got girls field hockey coming in, and then also there's quite a bit of room for spectators. We've got bleachers, we've got benches, we've got a concession lounge where people can get food and drinks. We're going to have multiple sports going at the same time, using every square inch of this place for what it was conceived for, which is basically people to come in, have a good time in the sport that they prefer. We manage each situation differently. Everybody has different ability to afford different things. Some are bringing 10, 15 people, some are just 2 people. I've had a lot of situations where it's a father shooting around with his son, it's a mother playing pickleball with her daughter or with her son, and then those situations come up and we work with people, and that's allowed us to have groups from 2 people up to 30 people and have some flexible pricing behind it. We're an organization that is here to work with the community any way we can, and as part of it is just making sure that we have the flexibility to put together a plan that makes sense regardless of the size of your group. So in order to book time, the best option is to go to our website, gamepointsports-syr.com. You can click from there and sign up for events, sign up for your own particular training, sign up for birthday parties, all of that.
And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here, where sports meets life, on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And of course, Ross and I are here continuing the drive with you through the 2026 NCAA Division I Men's Basketball Tournament, covering every single matchup and giving you our entire bracket prediction ahead of the round of 64, as we've done now for 15 years here in the drive, proudly presented by Great Lakes Honda City inside the Great Lakes Honda City studios. So we head to the West, and the West is going to be where everything is won. Arizona is the number 1 seed in the West, and they will try to make it all the way through. Remember when people didn't know what Gonzaga was? I didn't know Gonzaga. I was in high school, and then all of a sudden they made it into the tournament. They were an 8-9 matchup, and the number 1 seed was Arizona, and Gonzaga had to play Arizona, and then Gonzaga was the number 1 seed, and then Arizona was that team in the 8-9 region or around that area where they might have to play each other in the next round. Remember when they kept pitting them against each other? Well, this time around, if Gonzaga makes it and Arizona makes it, they'll be playing for the rights of who's going to the Final Four out of the West. We start with Ross giving his thoughts on his picks in the West region, and we'll start with the number 1 seed, Arizona, against the 16-seeded LIU. Long Island, the Sharks love their logo. Big fan of the light blue that they have in the jerseys. And I'll tell you this, the NEC, which I've covered for many years and had their commissioner Noreen Morris on here, the NCAA Selection Committee loves making the NEC a 16 seed. Doesn't matter who the team is, but they make them a 16. And when they did it a few years ago with Fairleigh Dickinson, they knocked off number 1 seeded Purdue. Ross will start in the West with Arizona and LIU. What do you got?
I think Arizona has too much firepower here. LIU is kind of cool because my dad actually went there. That's his alma mater, so I know he's a big fan of LIU. He'll be rooting for them. But I think Arizona is the superior team. LIU, I'm sure they'll give it a great run in the game for a little bit. It's great to see them make it. I like the name. I like the school a lot, but I think Arizona Wildcats, they're going to be too much to handle, and they will go to round number 2. 8 versus 9 matchup. I'm actually going with an 8 seed here. Villanova from the Philly area. I know they've been very up and down out of the Big East. I think Villanova, though, Big East gets you ready to play in a tournament, a single elimination knockout tournament like this with all the great competition most years. I know this year at times the Big East was down, but when you have to take on UConn and St. John's and teams of that ilk, Villanova will be ready. So Villanova will knock off Utah State to get to round number 2 to take on the Arizona Wildcats. 5-12 seed. Will I finally go with a 12 seed? No, because again, I know you showed me pictures last time. I think last year they were in the tournament. High Point, they have a beautiful campus. It looks gorgeous there. But I'm going to think the Wisconsin Badgers, they play a gritty, physical style of basketball. They made a nice little run in the Big Ten Conference tournament this past weekend. I think Wisconsin, coming out of a tough school, tough conference where they're, again, like the Big East usually, physical brand of basketball, this will get them ready to play in a tough tournament like this. Wisconsin will knock off 12 seed High Point, and they will take on Arkansas to others. John Calipari went on a great run with the Razorbacks when the SEC Championship Conference tournament this past week, and Arkansas gets to take on beautiful 13 seed Hawaii. I think Arkansas easily wins that game to take on Wisconsin Badgers in round number 2. BYU, we now know that Texas beat NC State by 2 points, so it'll be BYU 6 seed versus 11 seed Texas, coming off their nice win. Texas, will they be able to build on momentum? I'm thinking it'll be a very close game, but I think in the end, BYU will win a close ball game over Texas Longhorns. They will get to round number 2. And you know me, I always root for Gonzaga. They were the little engine that could underdog, little Rocky Balboa. And Coach Mark Few, he's had this team now become a juggernaut year after year. And now they're going to go to a bigger conference next year. And I think they'll do well there as well. Gonzaga knocks off 14 seed Kennesaw State. And it will be BYU versus Gonzaga in round number 2. To finish up the West top half of the bottom of the West bracket, I'll go with 10 seed Missouri knocking off the Miami Hurricanes for the 7th seed. Coming out of the ACC, I think Missouri beats Miami there, a little bit of an upset, and they will take on the Purdue Boilermakers. The 2 seed Purdue will crush 15 seed Queens. Purdue went on a nice run. Big Ten champs. They, in the Big Ten tournament this past weekend, upset the Michigan Wolverines, who are number 1 seed in the Midwest bracket. And Dave Portnoy, the pizza guy with Barstool Sports, one bite everyone knows the rule. Big Michigan Wolverine homer, loves his Michigan team. Tom Brady, of course, went through a lot of great Michigan teams. And you, of course, have the Fab Five in basketball back in the early 90s with Chris Webber, Jalen Rose. And they've built themselves up to another juggernaut with their great young coach. Michigan has had a great season, but Purdue Boilermakers, who as you mentioned, they got knocked off as a 16 seed, knocked off Purdue as a 1 seed a few years ago. Purdue's had their struggles in this tournament, but Purdue is ready to go on a nice run after winning that Big Ten title and upsetting the Michigan Wolverines this past week. Purdue will easily beat Queens to take on Missouri in round number 2.
Yeah, so I mean, as we look at this, Ross went with the higher seed in every single matchup except for Missouri over Miami, the 10 over the 7. The Battle of the Wildcats will start things off for the round of 32, Ross. Arizona, Villanova, what do you got?
Yeah, it's always kind of fun that they both have the same mascot. Both are Wildcats, but Villanova, they're a flawed team. They've had a lot of great years in recent past when they had their great coach who has since left them, now is into broadcasting, Jay Wright, who I think was the coach of Hofstra, who we haven't done yet. Hofstra is going to take on Alabama in the Midwest bracket we'll do next with our last bracket. Last time Hofstra made the tournament, I think I saw was in 2001. Jay Wright was the head coach of the team. And now I think their coach is Speedy Claxton, who played for Jay Wright on that 2001 team. And Hofstra now is back in a quarter of a century later. So, but Villanova, when they had Jalen Brunson, all these star players who now are on the New York Knicks, the big version of Villanova now in the NBA, and Jay Wright, who's now since left them now in broadcasting. Villanova has been a powerhouse for a number of years now, winning a couple of national titles in recent memory. But they've had a lot of struggles there, a flawed team. They'll get past Utah State, but in the end, Arizona, too hot to handle, too much firepower. They will be the better Wildcat. They will get the Sweet 16 over Villanova pretty easily. Wisconsin, 5 seed.
I do want to make a note really quick here, not to interrupt. Shout out to Kevin Willard in his first season with Villanova. After Jay Wright was there and Kyle Neptune came in for 3 seasons, Villanova struggled, and you really felt the loss of Jay Wright, and it just didn't work out with Neptune and the crew, but you always appreciate and hope the best for them moving forward. And then Kevin Willard steps in, and Villanova's in the top 3 again of the Big East. So just a shout out to the work that he's doing. And Ross going with Arizona Wildcats over Villanova Wildcats. Now back to you, Ross. Pardon the interruption.
And as you quickly mentioned that, that's maybe the hope at Syracuse. Had a long-time head coach, way longer than even Jay Wright, but a lot of success in Jim Boeheim, a Hall of Fame coach, won a national title, lots of Final Four appearances, great runs. And then they went to a coach. He did the best he could. He struggled, didn't make the tournament those 3 years, hovered around 500, and now Syracuse is looking for a new coach. Maybe the next coach, just like with Villanova. The bridge coach didn't work out. The coach in between, right after the legend, Boeheim, and then Jay Wright in Villanova. But maybe now Villanova found their man on the next coach after the immediate successor of Jay Wright. Maybe Syracuse will be able to find the same thing. They had trouble with their coach 3 years, and now maybe this next coach will be able to build and get them back to the Boeheim years.
And how crazy it is that if you really sit and think about it, Syracuse has only had 2 head coaches in men's basketball in 5 decades. 50 years of basketball, Boeheim 47, Adrian Autry 3. So for the last 50 years, Syracuse has only had 2 head coaches for men's basketball. They will now have a third in this 51st year that we're looking. I mean, obviously the team has been around longer than that, but for the last 50 years, only 2 head coaches.
Yeah. Wow, that's kind of like the Pittsburgh Steelers, college basketball, Pittsburgh Steelers in the NFL. Pittsburgh Steelers in 50, now almost 57 years, since 69, they've only had a few coaches. They had Chuck Noll, then Bill Cowher, Mike Tomlin, and now they're going to go with Pittsburgh native Mike McCarthy. But they had 3 coaches in almost 60 years. Before now, they've added this 4th coach when Tomlin stepped down. So kind of Syracuse and the Steelers in 2 different sports are kind of similar. In over a half a century, they've had very few coaches, pretty much 3 coaches, and they had a lot of longevity. So it's kind of interesting when you think about that, but hopefully good things would come. But yeah, Villanova, they've had a nice season under their new coach, and I think they're stepping in the right direction, but Arizona will beat them. But yeah, now with the 5 seed Wisconsin versus 4 seed Arkansas, Arkansas made a nice run last year, including knocking off Rick Pitino in the battle of Hall of Fame coaches, Calipari versus Pitino in last year's second round. I think Arkansas continues to go on their run. They're going to build on the momentum of win the SEC title in their conference tournament last week. John Calipari and Arkansas, they will knock off the Badgers of Wisconsin to go to the Sweet 16 to take on Arizona. It's going to be a close physical ball game, but Arkansas will be able to edge out Wisconsin. Then the other matchup, I'm going to go with Gonzaga, Coach Mark Few. He has his team always making a run in the tournament, has never won the national title, has gone to the championship game, has made the Final Four, made a lot of Elite Eights, pulled off a lot of upsets when they were the underdog, and now when they're one of the elite teams, they've won a lot of games. Kind of like Coach Izzo in Michigan State, Mark Few does at Gonzaga, wins wherever he goes and is dangerous any spot he's ranked in the tournament. Gonzaga will knock off BYU. Who beat Texas in the first round. Gonzaga beats BYU handily to get to the Sweet 16.
So you had Wisconsin or Arkansas in the last one?
Oh, I had Arkansas to beat Wisconsin.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was checking something here with our audio levels in the studio. I want to make sure I got it right. So Gonzaga, and now your final one, Missouri and Purdue.
Yes, so then Missouri, who beat Miami in the first round in a close game. Purdue, though, coming off their Big Ten championship, they'll build on that. The Purdue Boilermakers, who've had some struggles in the tournament in recent years, they get it done. They beat Missouri the Show Me State, and Purdue will take on mighty Gonzaga in the Sweet 16.
So as we have that Sweet 16 here, the Final Four of the West region, we have Arizona, Arkansas, Purdue, or Gonzaga and Purdue. So when you look at this group here, you have Tommy Lloyd of Arizona, who hasn't been there that long. Then you have John Calipari, who has been to a lot of different places and spent a lot of time in the SEC with Kentucky and is now with Arkansas. Back in the day, UMass, and, from there to being in Memphis and then on to Kentucky, now on to Arkansas, played spoiler to St. John's last year. And then you have Mark Few, who's been with Gonzaga forever and a day. And then we look at the Purdue Boilermakers, and Purdue, who I still remember this, being in the locker room with their team a few years back, Matt Painter being their head coach, and he's been with them for a long time, since 2005, over 2 decades has he been the head coach of the Boilermakers. So we're looking at some longtime coaches here. Does Arizona pull it off? What happens from here? Arizona, Arkansas, Gonzaga, Purdue. Bring us through it, Ross.
In John Calipari, we trust. They made a nice run last year. They're, again, another number 1 seed down the drain. Arizona, the Wildcats, the 3rd number 1 seed, gonna get knocked out. This one will get knocked out in the Sweet 16. Arkansas Razorbacks, SEC champion John Calipari has his team ready to go in this tournament. They will knock off number 1 seed Arizona Wildcats to go to the Elite 8. And then in the other matchup, in Mark Few we trust, just like Izzo in this tournament. Mark Few's Gonzaga team will knock off the Purdue Boilermakers, the 2 seed, who come off that Big Ten title. They're going to be flying high. Gonzaga is going to knock them out, and it will be Gonzaga versus Arkansas in the Elite 8 for a spot in the Final Four.
The Zags versus the Razorbacks. Who do we have from here? Is it Mark Few finally getting another chance at a national championship? Does he get closer this time around? Or does John Calipari do what he has done with so many teams, which is find a way to the Final Four?
John Calipari, you love him or hate him, he's going to get it done. Back to the Final Four, the Razorbacks, the SEC champion Razorbacks. Going to continue it. It's going to be a great game, close battle. I think a 1-possession game over Gonzaga Mark Few. They edged them out just barely by the skin of their teeth. Arkansas will win, and they will win that West bracket to get to the Final Four. And again, it's crazy. So far, my first 3 brackets, all number 1 seeds, none of them made the Final Four with only 1 bracket to go. But I'm going with Arkansas to edge Gonzaga and get to the Final Four.
Very interesting here, but I can see it happening. Ross's bracket in the West has been locked in. My bracket in the West here in the drive, with a capital D for my name, capital R for Ross, in bringing you 15 years of going through the NCAA men's basketball tournament for Division I here in 2026, bringing you through every piece of the bracket, predicting the entire field as we get set for the round of 64 here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. The drive is proudly presented by the Great Lakes Honda City, wonderful people and team, and Great Lakes Honda City is our exclusive studio partner as well. As we start here in the West, for me, how will the West be won? I'm going with Arizona over LIU. Arizona, just too dangerous of a team. They're a dangerous team, in my opinion, to pick all the way through because I feel like they're vulnerable, but they still also, I think, are better than maybe I see. I feel like there's a chance for them to win it all, and there's a chance for them to find their way out of this thing. So I really believe that as much as I think Arizona could be the champion this year and could surprise some people, myself included at times, I also think they might be out of the thing and mess up some people's brackets. Villanova and Utah State, I got to go with the Wildcat versus the Wildcat. I got to agree with Ross on this. Villanova, I had them getting in the Big East as the 3rd team, and they were the 3rd team that was welcomed into this tournament. An at-large bid for the Villanova Wildcats. Has been a minute, but they found their way back in it. So congratulations to Villanova. The next matchup that we have will take me to Wisconsin and High Point. Here's the thing with Wisconsin. When I pick them, they lose. When I don't pick them, they make me pay not for 1 round, but typically multiple rounds. They're either a Sweet 16 or an Elite 8 team. Well, I've learned my lesson, Wisconsin. I'm going with the Badgers so that I don't have to be badgered by them. I'm going with them over High Point to get the victory here and move forward in the 5-12 matchup. And then Hawaii, congratulations on winning your conference, but the Arkansas Razorbacks are going to find a way past you. John Calipari, man, I think some people just forget that he's still coaching, and he probably loves that. I'm going with the Razorbacks to win this matchup. BYU against Texas. Man, Texas had a heck of a game against NC State, and T-Mark had those awesome shots down the stretch, ice water in his veins, but I got to go with Brigham Young to get the victory here for the great state of Utah as they move on after defeating Texas, who won in their first 4 games. The Zags up against Kennesaw State. I got to go with Gonzaga, like Ross said, and like I felt for many years. In Mark Few, we trust. He was one of the coaches that I was like, I got to interview this guy, got to talk to him while I'm alive here and on God's green earth. And not only did I get to do it, I've gotten to do it multiple times. Shout out to the Zags. Miami versus Missouri. This is a good matchup. The 7-10 is a very dangerous place this year. We have UConn, UCF. We already talked about St. Mary's and Texas A&M. I can see either team winning that game. And I can also see either team in the West in the 7-10 win this game between Miami and Missouri. But Jay Lucas is doing a terrific job in his first year. Most wins by a head coach in their first year in Miami history. And I'm a huge fan of Jim Larrañaga. So I got to give Jay Lucas some credit, and Larrañaga before that. As before Larrañaga wrapped things up, he went to the Final Four, brought his team farther than they had ever gone with the Hurricanes before he retired. So I'm going with Miami to win this one. Jay Lucas doing a great job. And I'm going with Purdue over Queens University in Charlotte. Queens winning after, I believe, just 4 years ago. They were a Division II institution. Now they've won their conference and stepped forward in the A-Sun. But I'm going with the Purdue Boilermakers to make it happen in this and have a matchup against Miami. From there, Arizona and Villanova. I'm going to keep with Arizona and have those Wildcats moving on. Between Wisconsin and Arkansas, I got to go with John Calipari. I'm not going to get stuck in that round of 32 mess up like I did last year. I'm not going against Calipari this time. So Arizona and Arkansas will make it into the Sweet 16 from the West bracket. And then I'm going with the Zags because, listen, there's something about Gonzaga, and before Mark Few is done, they got to get a chip in there. So let's get Gonzaga moving forward in this. And then Miami versus Purdue. Purdue is another one of those teams that's hard to pick because they could have an issue here and they could trip up. I could see Purdue losing to Missouri. I could see Purdue losing to Miami. Where do I have Purdue in this one? Am I willing to say Miami? No. I got Purdue winning this, and Purdue will step forward into the Sweet 16. Purdue always reminds me of one of my first 2 dogs, Mordew. So shout out to Purdue as they will head to the Sweet 16. Arizona and Arkansas. This is going to be a really, really difficult matchup for me to select. I don't want to pick against Arizona because I think they're very dangerous and they could be the best number 1 seed that's out there, looking at how tough Duke's region is. I also look to John Calipari and say he's just a menace. So
you're not the biggest fan of Calipari. I know that.
I know this is my thing about John Calipari.
He's a great coach, but he does some very, at times, shady things or led shady things.
This is my thing. It's not being a fan or not being a fan of Calipari. Here's my thing about John Calipari. Okay, he goes to a school. They broke the rules. Yeah. He leaves, goes to another school, gets a pay raise, and the school gets punished. So John Calipari's never been punished. Every time he allegedly does something wrong, he leaves, makes more money elsewhere, and the school gets punished after he's gone. So he's never been punished, but the schools have been punished on his behalf. But he's making more money while they're facing sanctions. It's never made sense to me, and that's why I don't like it. So, I mean, I feel like I always say, like, you know, the greaseback car salesman. I mean, that's just kind of how I see it. But Arizona and Arkansas, this is a really, really tough one for me. I'm going with Arizona in this matchup. I know Calipari very well could win this game. This might be one of the best games, if not the best game of the Sweet 16. And I'm going with the Zags. We're going to have a rematch of when I was in high school and Arizona was playing Gonzaga and people were saying, who the heck is Gonzaga and where are they from? So Gonzaga going up against Arizona. Whew. And what's going to happen here, man? Arizona's had Gonzaga's number historically. This has not been a fun road for the Zags. And if I go back and I look at how these teams have faced off against each other, if we look at Arizona Gonzaga basketball history in their head-to-head matchups, this is how it's gone down, folks. Versus Gonzaga, Arizona is 6-4. So it's closer now. Now, if you look at this, Arizona's record in their last 3 games against Gonzaga have been losses. So they won they won a bunch, then they lost a bunch. At home, they're 3-1. On the road, they're 1-1. And so as we look at the history here, Arizona won the first 3 matchups against Gonzaga. Then they lost the 4th. Then they won 3 in a row. Then they've lost 3 in a row. And one of the ones that they won in the last 3 that they won in a row, 66-63 in overtime, 68-63. That's how close those games were before, and those came after the game in 2014 where they won 84-61. You look at their last 3 against Gonzaga, they lost by 7, they lost by 17, and most recently in Tucson, Arizona, they lost by 4. So Arizona, Gonzaga, where will I go? Well, I already thought Arizona was vulnerable to Arkansas, so I'm not making the same mistake here. Give me them Zags to go to the Final Four. I want to see Mark Few do it in my lifetime. The Gonzaga Bulldogs make it out of the West bracket before they head to the newly redesigned Pac-12, which if you're a football team, you have to end in state. Every team that's in the new Pac ends in state. I think they should take Pac-12's name and change it to Pac-State. And Gonzaga is the only team that is in the conference that doesn't end in state. They also don't have a football team. So that is how things look right now. I'm going with the Zags. Ross and I will take one final step aside in the drive, probably presented exclusively by Great Lakes Honda City. Inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, this is Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You are amazing, and we will be back momentarily to wrap up the final piece of this NCAA tournament. Stay with us. Chick-fil-A in DeWitt, want to give them a big time shout out. Chick-fil-A in DeWitt is taking everything that they've offered you, everything that's here that you love, the original, the spicy, the grilled, the mac and cheese, the shakes, and now they've upped the ante with new things being added to their menu. And what are those new things that Chick-fil-A is now offering to you? The new menu offerings give you the jalapeno ranch club chicken sandwich and the strawberry hibiscus beverages that they have now mixed in to everything that's there. It is part of what Chick-fil-A is doing in what they're calling their nostalgia-inspired celebrations, which blends familiar guest favorites with fresh new twists to surprise and delight. Head to Chick-fil-A in DeWitt today, giant brick building on the corner of Bridge Street and Erie Boulevard, with the jalapeno ranch club chicken sandwich, as well as the strawberry hibiscus beverages, offering 4 fresh new ways to sip into spring, is what they're calling it. Head out to Chick-fil-A in DeWitt today. With that being said, Ross and I are giving you our final piece of our bracket unveiling in the Midwest. We head to the Midwest side of things with Michigan. Michigan being the 3rd #1 seed of the tournament. Ross will go first and I will go second, as always, as we will go through the Midwest bracket, which is led by Michigan, the #2 seed on the bottom side of things, Iowa State, and littered with teams like Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, all inside of the SEC, as well as Texas Tech, the St. Louis Billikens, who have found their way back, Georgia, who made the tournament by the skin of their teeth, in my opinion, Santa Clara, the 3rd team to make it out of the West Coast Conference, as well as Wright State, who has made themselves an NCAA tournament regular. I feel like we've seen that name a lot over time. And the Virginia Cavaliers, who made it to the championship game and went back and forth with Duke all the way to the bitter end of a 74-70 loss in the ACC title game in Charlotte. Ross, I hand it to you, as well as another team from the state of New York not named Syracuse. Siena made it, and so did the Hofstra Pride. Where are you, Ross, in this bracket?
All right, our last bracket, Midwest bracket here. Number 1, Michigan are the final hope. If for at least my bracket, if a number 1 seed's going to get to the Final Four. So far, the first 3 have not. Michigan Wolverines, great team, but they fell short to Purdue in the Big Ten championship game, which was an upset. But I think they will have an easy time in their first round matchup against Howard. Nice win against UMBC last night for Howard. So great that they got a collegiate victory in the tournament, in the playing game. Michigan is just an explosive team, great coach, great players, and Howard's not going to be able to really measure up here. So Michigan will easily win that to get round 2. And then in the next matchup, another 9 versus 8 matchup. I'm going with the 9 seed in a very closely paired matchup. St. Louis will knock off the 8-seeded Georgia Bulldogs in a close battle. So it'll be St. Louis taking on the Michigan Wolverines in round number 2. Finally, 5 versus 12 seed. So far, the first 3 have not had a 12 over 5 seed. I finally have another crazy. Do you want to drink the Kool-Aid? I drink your milkshake. I drink it up to Lewis moment. There will be blood. There will be, as I knock my phone down here, there will be a 12 seed as I bang my fist on the table. 12 seed, Akron, Ohio, the home of the great LeBron James, all-time leading scorer in basketball history, where he grew up. Akron, Ohio, Akron. The 12 seed will pull off the upset, knock off the 5 seed Texas Tech. Red Raiders will make the great Pat Mahomes, who from Texas Tech went to college there before becoming a star quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. He will go home crying because his alma mater, Texas Tech, will get upset and knocked out by Akron to go to round 2. The next matchup, Akron, who will they play in round 2? 4 seed. I'd love to go with the localish team from the New York area, Hofstra. Haven't been in the tournament in 25 years. They're finally back with Speedy Claxton and everything, and it's been such a long road. Hofstra finally gets back to the tournament. Love to see them pull off the upset over Alabama, but I think in the end they'll give Alabama a scare. Still more known as a football school, but Alabama's still a decent basketball program. The Crimson Tide of Alabama, the 4 seed, will knock off 13 seed Hofstra in a closer than expected battle. I expect Hofstra to give them some fits in this game, but Alabama will prevail, and they'll take on Akron in round number 2. The bottom of this Midwest bracket, 6 seed Tennessee Volunteers. I had, as I mentioned earlier in the program, I have Miami, Ohio, proving their doubters wrong after getting knocked out in their conference tournament by UMass after being undefeated before that. Last undefeated team in the country in Division I ball. I have Miami, Ohio beating SMU, but they will lose to Tennessee. The Tennessee Volunteers out of the SEC will knock off Miami, Ohio to go round number 2. They'll pull away in the second half and win pretty easily. Virginia, the 3 seed, will crush Wright State, the 14 seed, who gets the tournament a good amount out of their small conference. Virginia Cavaliers will get it done. No longer Tony Bennett as their head coach, but they're still having a good season out of the ACC. Virginia will win, and they will get to round number 2 to take on Tennessee. Then finally, we have on the very bottom of the bracket, 7 seed Kentucky will knock off 10 seeded Santa Clara. They will get to round number 2, and they'll take on the Iowa State Cyclones. Iowa State, the 2 seed, will crush 15-seeded Tennessee State. So it'll be Kentucky versus Iowa State to go to the second round of the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, let's taking a look at this. I mean, Ross, with the Michigan side of things, St. Louis, the Billikens. If you look at the Billikens logo and you remember Gummy Bears, the Disney cartoon, the Billiken actually looks like the villain from the Gummy Bears cartoon. And so I'm a big fan of the Billiken. I actually knew on the women's basketball side one of the coaches that was on the St. Louis Billikens. And when I was down in St. Louis a few years back, got to go by their campus and see the Billikens. So that was really cool. Akron winning the MAC. There's something to be said about that. Alabama, how dangerous of a team can they be? And, you know, Tennessee, Virginia is going to be a great matchup in the round of 32. So is Kentucky and Iowa State. So take us there, Ross, to the round of 32. Who's going to the Sweet 16 from the Midwest?
All right, so Michigan will knock off St. Louis, who got their first round win over Georgia, but Michigan, again, too powerful. They will crush St. Louis to get to the Sweet 16. Akron, I went on the line, finally went with a 12 seed to finally beat a 5 seed. Akron wins that first round game. They're going to give Alabama some fits, but I think the Crimson Tide, Alabama prevails. They will beat Akron and go take on Michigan Wolverines, which they faced each other in college football in the semifinals and the playoffs a couple of years ago in Nick Saban's last game as a head coach. Michigan prevailed in that, but Michigan will take on Alabama in the Sweet 16. And then at the bottom of the bracket, it should be a great slugfest, but I'm going to go with the ACC school. 3 seed Virginia will knock off 6 seed Tennessee out of the SEC. Virginia prevails over Tennessee to get to the round of 16. And they will take on, and kind of an upset here, 7 seed Kentucky Wildcats, who've been a powerhouse for many years. This year they've been up and down. They will beat the 2 seed Iowa State Cyclones in an upset. Kentucky beats Iowa State, and Kentucky will face off against Virginia in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, Ross going with Kentucky here. Kentucky. It's funny how John Calipari's not there, but Kentucky, still gets a lot of respect when they are on the basketball side of things and just what they've been able to do. It's like the program was built and John Calipari did a heck of a job there. And now Kentucky, as they have gone forward with their history without John Calipari, where you almost felt like he was always going to be there, the current basketball coach since taking the job on April 12th of 2024. So it'll be almost it's less than 2 years since he's taken the job as he's in the tournament. Mark Pope leading the team. And so we'll see. He was at BYU as well as Utah Valley, and Ross has Kentucky heading up against Virginia. So we got blue bloods here when we look at Michigan, Virginia, Kentucky. Alabama's tried to make a name for themselves in recent history. Michigan and Alabama, Virginia and Kentucky. Who's making it to the Elite Eight?
Michigan will finally knock off Alabama after a nice run to the Sweet 16. Michigan, again, so explosive here, the number 1 seed from the Big Ten. And I think it actually probably helps them that they lost that championship game for the conference title against Purdue, because now they'll be ready, they'll be alert, they'll be on guard. Kind of like Dan Hurley and UConn in the other bracket, the East bracket, getting blown out by rival St. John's for the Big East title. That will give bulletin board material for Coach Hurley to motivate his team. Same thing with Michigan. Their head coach will motivate his players that he fell short in the conference championship game, and they'll go on a nice run. So Michigan will beat Alabama. They'll pull away in the second half. And who will they play in the Elite Eight to go to the Final Four? I'm going with the Virginia Cavaliers. They knock off the Kentucky Wildcats, win handily over Kentucky. And, in years past, Kentucky was always a powerhouse. You would think Kentucky would destroy Virginia. But Virginia is a good, solid team, even with their newish coach, now that Tony Bennett's gone there, who won a national title there with the Cavaliers. Virginia beats Kentucky, and it'll be Virginia facing off against the mighty Wolverines of Michigan to go to the Final Four.
Yeah, Virginia has had themselves a great start to the era that is Ryan Odom. I just got to speak with Ryan very recently here this past Saturday. Spoke with him a couple times during the tournament and got to speak with him off camera as well, and giving him the best of luck as they stepped into this. Getting a 3 seed was fantastic for the Cavaliers. Tony Bennett did an incredible job, and defense has been the MO of Virginia under Tony Bennett. And speaking with Malik Thomas, who plays for his sister who passed away, and she watches him from heaven, Chanel, I had a great conversation with Malik Thomas as well as other guys on the Virginia Cavaliers, and they are ready and willing to do this thing, and I think they're going to make a run. So Michigan, Virginia, Ross, who do you have?
Drum roll. Much better drum roll. We're finally going to get a number 1 seed in my bracket to get to the Final Four, the only one in my mind. So definitely not going straight chalk, which is the easy way out, which is sometimes, kind of the lazy way out. Sometimes it works out that way, but I didn't have that. Number 1 seed Michigan, though, they'll be the only 1 seed in my bracket to go to the Final Four in Indianapolis, in Big Ten country, not far from Michigan. Michigan in a close game. Virginia's going to make it close. I think they'll win by 5 or 6 points. It'll be tough until the end. They'll win by a couple of possessions. It should be a great Elite Eight final. But Michigan will beat the Virginia Cavaliers to go to the Final Four. So my Final Four is St. John's versus Houston, and Arkansas, John Calipari versus Michigan.
So Ross, only with one number 1 seed, and that being the 3rd overall number 1 seed, the Michigan Wolverines, pulling in to the 2026 Final Four. It's time for me to give my final picks of the 2026 Division I men's basketball NCAA tournament bracket here on The Drive, bringing you an entire coverage, all analysis, round by round of the NCAA tournament. We're making our picks for the bracket all the way through today, and then whatever happens round by round, we'll be assessing it, analyzing it, and making our picks from there as well. So our bracket's our bracket, but we will bring you through, and whoever wins, loses based on our predictions, we will continue to make picks all the way through. Round of 64, 32, Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four, and Championship game. It's all going to be here as we journey through The Drive, proudly presented exclusively by Great Lakes Honda City, only here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, with Ross Turetsky, and myself, Dan Tortora, here inside of the Great Lakes Honda City studios. Let's go to my bracket of the Midwest. The Michigan Wolverines will get a victory over Howard, who won in the first four. Big time shout out to Howard and all the work that they've done. The Bison have been wonderful, and I'm very excited for their coach. I'm excited for their team. I'm excited for their community, their alumni, all of their students and student athletes, administration. It's great to see what Howard has done and what they continue to do. And I look forward to their game against Michigan. I hope they make it a great one, but I do have the Wolverines winning that. I also have the St. Louis Billikens over Georgia. Georgia is one of those teams that I did not think should be an at-large team in the tournament, but they put in 10 of the 16 SEC schools.
It helps if you're an SEC or Big Ten school, or you're a big powerhouse, especially in college football. And I agree with you, bud. I don't think you need this many SEC, this many Big Ten schools. Great conferences, great competition, get you ready for this tournament. But I think it's the big money and all the lobbyists and the people on those committees who are from these big conferences that get all those Big Ten and 8th place, 9th place SEC school in that doesn't really deserve to be in. When people are whining that Miami, Ohio's in when they were undefeated, yes, they get until they lost in their tournament game in their conference. And yes, their conference and their competition was much weaker. But I don't think Georgia really deserved to make it either. Georgia gets in because of the name of the school and their powerhouse conference. And I think a lot of lobbyists from those major universities and conferences, they get their teams in. And there were people whining that Auburn deserved to get in, and other teams. So I think it's not fair when you have Miami, Ohio, who are like, oh, they're garbage because they play weaker teams. They don't deserve to be in. But Georgia, what did they do this year? Not much in basketball. They still get in as an 8 seed. I think that's a little ridiculous.
Yeah, I absolutely agree that Georgia, I would have rather seen Wichita State than see Georgia this year in the tournament, but St. Louis, I have them defeating the Georgia Bulldogs, so short-lived for a team that I would have had as my first four out, I would say. So the St. Louis Billikens getting a victory here. St. Louis had themselves a good season, and I look forward to that continuing for at least one more game. Texas Tech and Akron. Texas Tech is a team that I had in from the Big 12, and Akron is a team that a lot of people count out, but I think Texas Tech is going to get the victory in this 5-12 matchup. I got Alabama over Hofstra, as much as I want to see Hofstra make it happen for the state of New York with the Hofstra pride. Very happy that they got into this tournament by winning their conference, so a shout out to them in the CAA. And then Tennessee over what I believe is going to be SMU. I have the Volunteers moving forward. I have Virginia over Wright State. Kentucky and Santa Clara is a tough one for me, but I'll give the nod to Kentucky, and I feel good about the Cyclones this season in the NCAA tournament, which brings me to Michigan and St. Louis. I'm going to go with the Wolverines to continue to move things on here over the Billikens. And then with Texas Tech and Alabama, I got to go and agree with Ross here on Bama moving forward in their piece of the bracket, which is setting them up for a Sweet 16 opportunity. So that's where I have the Crimson Tide. And then when it comes to the next matchup that we'll have here between Tennessee and Virginia, I think it'll be a good game, but I am going to go with Ryan Odom. Listen, they have a guy on their team, Ugana Onyensu, who is an incredible shot blocker. He had 8 blocks in one game, and he shattered Tim Duncan's ACC tournament record for blocks in an ACC tournament. I believe he had 21 in 3 games. So shout out to Onyensu, who I got to speak with, and I got to talk with Virginia about him, and then I got to talk with him. I got the Virginia Cavaliers moving forward, and then Kentucky and Iowa State. I don't know what it is about the Cyclones this year, but I feel good about Iowa State. So I'm going to have Iowa State moving forward, which puts me in a place between Michigan and Alabama, Virginia and Iowa State of who's going to make it to the Elite Eight. The Michigan Gangsters, I think, are going to go a little bit farther here in the tournament. And as much as I want to see Virginia do it, I think Iowa State is going to be a little bit too much here for Virginia, which is setting up 1 versus 2. And I'm going with the Cyclones to spin around this Midwest bracket and mess some things up for some people.
That will destroy. That will light fire to this bracket if Iowa State. I know they're a 2 seed, but if they come out of the Midwest bracket, when a lot of people are going Michigan to win the championship, or at least the Final Four, that would definitely be a big one to crush a lot of people's hopes and dreams of their bracket success.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Iowa State to make it out of here. I don't know. I feel good about them this year, and I also can see Virginia making a run, but it's weird. I think if Virginia plays Michigan, I'd pick Michigan, but if Michigan plays Iowa State, then I would go with Iowa State. So I have Iowa State in my Final Four, which is setting up that I will have a 1 seed, a 2 seed, a 3 seed, and a 2 seed, making it to the nation's Final Four of the 2026 NCAA tournament.
You also only have one number 1 seed going to the Final Four as well.
So Ross and I both have one seed that is making it here, which puts us in a place, Mr. Turetsky, where we are going to have to pick our Final Four, and we're going to do it on the screen here as people get to see our faces. I'm going to go ahead and bring in the ability for us to write while we are hanging out here on the show. And so while we're writing here, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to bring this up. If it'll let me bring it up, maybe it won't. So we'll see. Oh, yes, it will. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up the board here so we can draw on here. Your Final Four, give me who's going to make it out of your Final Four to the championship.
All right, Indianapolis, Indiana, and you got it. Final Four Saturday, semifinals April 4th, and it's a little different. It won't be on CBS. A lot of the games will be on CBS and True TV and TNT, HBO Max, TBS. But I think I saw it will be only on TBS, the Final Four, so that's a little interesting this year, and the championship game. St. John's, Rick Pitino. They fell short last year in the second round of Arkansas, and I picked them to win it all last year. I'm banking on this year. I hope they don't burn me again. I'm picking them to go to the Final Four, and I'm picking them to beat the Houston Cougars and Kelvin Sampson's team. Houston's been close. They almost won the championship last year. I think St. John's, though, they get over the hump. They beat Houston to go to the championship game. They keep riding the high of that Big East title, and Coach Pitino has a chance to win another national title in his illustrious collegiate career. So I'm going with St. John's over Houston in the first semifinal matchup.
All right. So you have St. John's over Houston, red over red, and that will lead us to the other side of your bracket. Who will make it from the West-Midwest matchup?
All right, my matchup is Arkansas with Coach Calipari, his SEC champion Arkansas Razorbacks, against the Michigan Wolverines, my only number 1 seed to get this far. Michigan, with all their high scoring and all their firepower and physical play, Pizza Man Portnoy will be very happy, so will Brady. I'm going with the Michigan Wolverines, who are a dangerous team, and I'm thinking they're going to knock off Arkansas and stop Arkansas's great run. Coach Calipari getting his team to a Final Four, getting them this deep in the tournament is a great accomplishment, but I think in the end, Michigan's too much for them. It's a close game. Arkansas almost pulls off the upset, but I think the Michigan Wolverines, they prevail by just a few points, 4 or 5 points, and they will take on. It'll be Michigan versus St. John's for all the marbles on Monday, April 6th, the national championship game, which, by the way, I miss back even when we were in high school and college back at Marywood. Yeah. You used to have national championship game on Monday night, and it used to be opening day of baseball. So you had baseball starting at like 1 o'clock all the way to the West Coast night games from 10 to 1 o'clock, 10 at night to 1 a.m. So that'd be baseball from 1 p.m. East Coast all the way to like 1 a.m. when the West Coast games were over. And you had the national championship game in basketball. So I'd have picture-in-picture. Great day for sports. Open day for baseball. National championship game for men's basketball. Now that's a little different because now baseball usually starts off on a Thursday. Next Thursday's opening day. And the Yankees, a week from today, will that Netflix-only game, Yankees versus San Francisco Giants, the first ever baseball game on Netflix will be a week from today on Wednesday the 25th, and then everyone opens up on Thursday the 26th. I really miss, I know I used to tell you that all the time, I loved National Championship Monday, opening day baseball, championship game at night. That was a great day for sports, but I digress. I miss those days. I feel like I'm Clint Eastwood. Get off my lawn, and all those kids and the whippersnappers and 6'7" and all that stuff. I'm feeling old as I get closer to 40. I'm like, I miss my old school stuff, and I miss that having both on the same day. But yeah, I'm Clint Eastwood up in here. But yeah, so I'm going with St. John's versus Michigan for the national championship. That will be my championship matchup.
It's written on the screen. Who's your national champion? Give me a score.
And I have the score. Finally. They finally get it done, or they don't, and they fail miserably. They do it for the city of New York, the mecca of basketball. They play a lot. They have some games on campus, but they play a lot of the games at home at Madison Square Garden in New York City. St. John's. They do it before the New York Knicks get it done. Hopefully the Knicks, hey, they won that in-season garbage tournament. Hopefully they finally win an NBA title soon. It's been since 73. It's been 53 years. I've never seen them win a championship in my life. Almost did it in 94 with the O.J. Ford Bronco chase. Lost Elijah on the Rockets in 7 games. Lost in 99 to Tim Duncan and Dave Robinson and the Spurs. But I digress. St. John's does it before the Knicks do it from the Garden. St. John's knocks off number 1 seed Michigan. And St. John's, who survives the gauntlet of the East bracket with all those powerhouse teams with the Duke, the Kansas, Michigan State, UConn. St. John's 5 seed got screwed over with that bracket and being in the 5 seed. They get it done. They win the national title by 6 points, 83-77. I have it right here, so I'm not just making up. And whether it's right or wrong, I'm going to stick with it. My bracket of integrity, my one and only bracket, and I'll post it on my Facebook. You'll post it on yours. This is my only bracket. If it fails, so be it.
You got to sign it.
I like the Titanic. I'm going down with the ship. Yeah. I'm doing it like Leo does it against that evil villain Rose. St. John's 83-77 over Michigan to win their big national championship finally, and Coach Pitino brings championship glory back to New York City and gets it done. And he'll really be wearing those great kingpin white suits when he brings the championship back home to the Big Apple and knocks off Michigan in the championship game on April 6th.
Can Rick Pitino and Kingpin both take over New York City at the same time?
And by the way, the next season of Daredevil,
March 24th.
March 4th, Disney Plus. Yep. So right around this March Madness bracket, this upcoming Tuesday, it's going to be here. So very cool stuff. But let's see if the Kingpin of New York, of St. John's, gets it done and wins the championship.
Well, the Punisher's going to have something to say about that. So my national championship game, Duke Houston, Gonzaga, Iowa State. Who will make it between my two? Where am I going? I'll tell you right now. I am going with the Houston Cougars to topple Duke, the 2 seed, to get past Vanderbilt, who will take out Florida before Houston gets to them, and for Duke to make it out of the East, but not out of a matchup with the Cougars, who lock the door and don't let the Blue Devils get out. They will exercise the tournament of the devil, and they will be the team moving forward. The next one here, Gonzaga and Iowa State. The Zags, man, they're such a good team.
So that means one of those 2 teams that have been knocking on the door is going to win a championship in your picks. It's either going to be Houston no matter what, like the great Kevin Costner Draft Day movie. By the way, it's a little scary now when you watch with Bo Callahan, his agent, is Diddy in the movie. It kind of it taints the movie a little bit. I love the movie. The late great Chadwick Boseman from Black Panther fame and Jackie Robinson movie. He's great in it. Kevin Costner's great in it. It's such a great movie. It kind of stinks now when you watch it, though. You have to see a convicted felon like Diddy being the agent in the movie. I just saw a post where they made a joke. No wonder why no one went to Bo Callahan's birthday. Look at his agent. A lot of baby oil adventures. Makes sense why none of his teammates came to his party. But so it's either going to be Houston no matter what, or Gonzaga and Mark Few finally win a national title. Which one will it be? Because that's pretty cool that one of those 2 beasts will be slayed, and one of those will be the kings of college basketball.
So it comes down to, am I going to go with the Zags? Or am I going to go with Iowa State? Am I thinking that which one of these teams will do it? Will the Cyclones find their way over the Zags, and will Gonzaga get close but still not get there? Or will Gonzaga play in the national championship game on April 6th? The question that you ask me will be answered as such.
As you keep stalling.
I am stalling. I'm stalling so bad because you've known me forever.
You're still probably trying to pick it as we speak.
I'm sitting here and I'm saying, I know
it's a tough choice.
I know where I can be safe, and I know where I can let it fly. And
yeah,
if
but you love both. Your heart leads with both these schools.
I know, so if I could say anything, and I'm going to go down in history, let me go down with saying Gonzaga will topple.
Wow.
Iowa.
I really thought, I was about to say, I was going the other way with you. I thought it was going to be, you were going to say Houston no matter what finally, and they were going to get it done. I really thought you were edging the Cougars over Gonzaga. I'm a little surprised that you're going with the Zags and Mark Few before he leaves to the Pac-12, before they change conferences, that they finally get it done.
I'm going with Gonzaga to make it against Houston. So they make it against Houston. They topple Iowa State, who I think.
I thought you were saying Gonzaga over Houston. So maybe it is Houston no matter what.
So we got Houston and Gonzaga, two teams that I have respected for a very long time, two coaches that I've talked to, two fantastic programs, two programs that do not rebuild, they reload. It's the Cougars versus the Zags. It's the team that should have gotten a shot off with 7 seconds left in the most confusing end to a championship maybe ever, versus the team that would make the Cinderella glass slipper really, truly fit. So will the Zags win the title in 2026, or will it be the Cougars? Is it Mark Few or is it Kelvin Sampson? One of the most difficult decisions in my life, and I very much could see this be Houston, Iowa State instead of Houston, Gonzaga. Because of that, I am going back to what I said. I am going back to what I said 2 years ago, which was when I wrote on a piece of paper.
Are you doing this for Diddy?
A la draft day. I wrote on a piece of paper. Now listen, I wrote on a piece of paper a couple years ago. I wrote Houston. Houston, no matter what. I put it away, and I was close. So I also wrote on a piece of paper last February that the Super Bowl person that would be the Super Bowl halftime show.
Oh, Bad Bunny.
I wrote down Bad Bunny a year before, and I was correct.
Yeah.
So Houston, I was almost there. Bad Bunny, I was there. Houston, the second time around, I am willing
Give us some lottery numbers if you're going to get all these things right. We need to know. Nostradamus, Dan Damas. We need to know.
So I will tell you that I am going with the Houston Cougars. It is going back on a piece of paper. Houston, no matter what. And I am going with the Cougars in their victory over Gonzaga in a high-scoring game.
What's the score?
93.
Wow.
To 88.
Ooh, 5-point game. That's a very competitive, close game.
93 to 88. So, folks, that is my bracket. That's my champion. That's Ross's bracket. That's his champion. So I have my bracket up here.
That's my bracket, but if you want to see my beautiful artwork, these are my doodles. I do doodles on the back. So when I get bored, I do doodles. So bracket, doodles. I don't know. By the end of this tournament, by the end of the first day of the tournament, the doodles might be better and more accurate than my bracket. But look at the beautiful pumpkin I made. There's beautiful drawings. I'm a great artiste. I'm like a little Picasso of my time.
The pumpkin man. I'll tell you this right now. There's some artist that would make that stick figure pumpkin head, and it would sell for $900,000 at some show. So I'm letting you all see my bracket right now. My bracket is here. It is filled out. The score is there, and I'm going to do this for all of you, and I think Ross should do it as well. I am officially signing my bracket. So there you go. You can see my signature right on my bracket above the national championship. There's my signature. There's Houston, 93-88, signed, sealed, and delivered. So either my bracket's going to look good or I'm going to have to start doodling on the back of mine. There is Ross. He's signed his. And I think I'm telling you right now, that pumpkin stick figure, if that was Picasso, that
got a red ginger beard too.
Yeah, I'm telling you right now, there's somewhere in this world where somebody that someone thinks has a name in the artist world is going to make that same pumpkin stick figure, and it's going to sell for like, I don't know, $4 million, and it's going to be put in somebody's living room in a month. So this is the drive. We're bringing you all the way throughout. We just unveiled our entire brackets live to you on Wake Up Call in the drive, proudly presented exclusively by Great Lakes Honda City, who is also our studio partner and also the place where you can drive a new or used vehicle home today. Go to 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York, Monday through Saturday, and online at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Ross and I, no matter who wins or loses based on our predictions, we will go through the round of 64, 32, Sweet 16, 8, 4, and the champion. So don't worry. Whether we're right or wrong, we're still going to predict all the way through. We're still going to assess the games, and we're going to analyze everything. The journey through this NCAA tournament goes through Wake Up Call, goes through the drive, and it is year 15 of us bringing this to you. Ross, you are amazing, and you are somebody that I've been able to rely on for more years than most, and I cannot thank you enough for your love and support, and the fact that we get to do this every year truly gets me excited for it more than most things, and it's because of you, it's because of our friendship, it's because of our brotherhood, and it's because of the laughs along the way. So thank you, I appreciate you, I love you, and I look forward to bringing everyone watching and listening through another NCAA tournament together on the drive.
I wouldn't do it couldn't have a better partner in crime to do it with, wouldn't do it with anyone else. And it is now, what is it? It's 12:10. We did this for over 3 hours, and it flew right by like a snap of a finger and went by quick. It doesn't seem like work, and it doesn't seem like a long time when you're having fun. So we had lots of fun, and 3 hours flew right by. And still think Rose is the greatest villain in movie history. That don't change my thoughts on that. And I'm still going to spoil some movies for you down the road. But thanks for having me on. It was a pleasure. Thank you for complimenting my doodles. That's a pleasure. And we'll see what happens. You're going with Houston no matter what for the championship. I'm going with St. John's no matter what with Coach Patino. And I can't wait to cover the whole tournament with you on the drive. I love it every year, 15 years and counted. Love doing it. And I'll quickly do this. I know we didn't do a bracket for the women's basketball. I still think UConn for women's basketball, Coach Gino Auriemma, they're undefeated. I think they're going to finish the year undefeated. I think they're going to have a perfect season. I'm picking UConn as a heavy favorite. Dawn Staley and South Carolina is always dangerous in the tournament. They can go on a great run. They might go to the Final Four. I think in the women's bracket, in the tournament, I think Gino Auriemma is going to bring another national title to UConn and have a perfect undefeated season on his hands.
Yeah, I will tell you this, and, I go through the women's bracket as well. UConn a 1 seed, UCLA a 1 seed, Texas a 1 seed, and South Carolina. And if South Carolina is to make it to the Final Four, they will play UConn in the semifinal, not in the championship game. And that very well could happen. So we cannot have South Carolina playing UConn for the title, but we can have them playing in the Final Four. I think that's going to happen. And on the way to that, I think whoever's on the left side, with no disrespect to those on the right side of this, I think whoever wins that UConn-South Carolina matchup is going to win it all. And by the way, to everybody that said that Gino Auriemma could not do it and that the mighty UConn would finally fall to the NIL and transfer portal world, he's undefeated again. He's got good players. He's able to keep them. He's able to move forward. And Gino Auriemma is back on center stage once again. Dawn Staley, Gino Auriemma, whoever makes it out of the left side of the bracket, in my opinion, is winning the tournament. And I'm going to pick Gino Auriemma and UConn to do it. As much as I love Coach Staley, her faith in God, and her unwavering desire to share it and not be afraid of it, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going with the UConn Huskies. But if I'm wrong, Staley, lift it up one more time.
Absolutely. Great.
Oh, we we lost Ross here for a second. So he was about to finish up the conversation with us, and we temporarily lost him, but that's okay. So, it's going to be a great tournament. Either way, we're going to have fun with it. And I do want to let you all know one more time, join our bracket challenge with that QR code. It's on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. So you can find the link on all of those. You can also find the drive video that we've been playing that has the code on it. That's on my story on Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. It's also on the screen right now. Enter your bracket by tapping the code or following the link on our social media. It is free to enter the Wake Up Call Bracket Challenge. Make sure you do that today. We're up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. Wherever you are, we thank you for being with us Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time and beyond. Big time shout out to everyone that also follows us on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. So make sure you do that today. Big time shout out to everybody that has. And of course, you can also ask Alexa and your Google Home device to play the latest episode of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and they will do that for you as well. Big time shout out to our team of partners in Central and Upstate New York, Great Lakes Honda City, Carvel DeWitt, Ma and Pa's, the snack capital of the world, the Wildcat Sports Pub, GG Cards and Breaks, as well as Pizza Man, Game Point Sports Complex, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Brian's Landing, Myers Creek, Avicoli's, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Chick-fil-A Cicero, Mother's Cupboard, Chick-fil-A in DeWitt, the Willow Rock Brewing Company, and Willow Rock Pizza Pub. And of course, we are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Binghamton University Bearcats. Find the Bearcats every single Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We will be there with you, and I appreciate you so very much. Ross said, thanks for having me on again for year number 15 of The Drive. It was a blast as always. So those are the final words of today's broadcast from Ross, but hopefully not the final words, as we have plenty more to talk about here, and appreciate all your blessings, folks. So happy to be here with you. Thanks for being with us. You can find the Bearcats by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our Binghamton playlist. The Bearcats are also on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to binghamtonbearcats.com and go Bearcats. Once again, and one final time from the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, welcome to year 15 of The Drive. We'll be bringing you through the entire NCAA tournament. The first piece was Ross and I unveiling our entire brackets to you all the way to the national championship game, our champion, and our score. And from here, we will go round by round, and we'll break down the rounds. We will make our picks as we go. So we'll continue to select the games right or wrong in our original predictions. We will follow through every single matchup that happens in the 64, 32, Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Four, National Champion. And of course, we are always happy to be here with you on Wake Up Call. Happy to be inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Get your vehicle there today, new and used. Go to greatlakeshondacity.com. And in the meantime, enter your bracket for free. You have between now and right before noon on Thursday, March 19th. Do not miss the Wake Up Call Bracket Challenge. We do it through the Yahoo Tourney Pick'em. You can enter through the QR code. You can enter through the links on our social media. Once again, Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. For now, from the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, I say, God bless, no stress, do your best. We'll talk soon. Thanks for being with us, and take good care.